What do you think is the most haunted place in the world?
The Conjuring house. We spent a week there, and it completely changed our lives.
If you take pictures of this doll, it literally says it gives you cancer. And we did that. And then I got cancer that month.
That was definitely the first time we truly believed. If you have proof, then our human life doesn't matter anymore. And so when I hear these things or see these things that make me believe that there might be something more, it gives me hope.
We have some breaking news as of like 20 minutes ago. Did you hear that Mr. Beast sold his channel to Disney?
No, we didn't. Really?
Yes,
To
$5 billion.
You're lying.
The number
So-
got leaked.
Wait,
So is there an
this
amount?
confirmed?
Yes,
confirmed.
it was just confirmed.
So is there an amount that you would sell for?
Probably 6 billion.
You give it to one of
You break the
Mr.
record.
Dude, what?
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't believe that.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Wait, so they own everything now?
Yes, and he's not appearing on it anymore.
You're
You're
lying.
lying.
No, I swear.
you're
Someone else is
lying.
coming in lieu of like Mr. Beast, and they're going to be like Mr. Beast.
No way.
Isn't that crazy?
No,
Are you
I think
lying?
Yeah, he's lying
No.
to us. There's not a second.
He's a horrible liar. Man. That was a bad.
You're
Come
gonna say
on,
that.
really? Yeah, you gotta.
I didn't know you were going to say he's
take it and
not
run with
appearing
it.
in it. That's too.
That's
come
too
on.
far. Okay, my
come
bad. But
on.
I ruined the bit. But
Arak is going to take over. Imagine how you said that.
yeah.
Oh.
No, he's,
Well, that
he's
would
not
be a
selling the
flat
channel. No, not selling the channel.
No, no.
That would be pretty crazy. So
We sell ours for like 200, 300 bucks.
$300 bucks.
maybe.
I'll feed you
That's
that
pretty
like,
good.
right now if you guys want.
Really?
To take it. Yeah. We can figure this out after the podcast.
Okay, cool.
So you guys were on Rogan, right?
We were.
So
About
you
this
guys
time
are.
last year.
I mean, that's basically like the massive stamp of approval of like, okay, you guys are some serious people to be on Rogan, right?
Before that, we were the most stupid, unserious people.
No, and it all changed. How?
After that.
How do they reach out to you?
Dude, in the most casual way possible.
Yeah.
We got an email from like a random Gmail account and was just like, yo, Joe wants you on the pod. You guys down? We're like, this is fake. This is a guy.
We actually thought it was fake at first.
Yeah.
It was just like a paragraph. It didn't have like any of the professional headers or like the endings of the emails. It also was just like a random one like paragraph
like
thing.
JRE recruiter at Gmail. We're
Yeah. Like come out to
no
like
way.
Austin and like
Really?
film the show with
I'm
us.
curious how you even see that email because we get probably 100 emails a day, and most of them we just don't end up seeing. How do you see that one email
Well,
that
we
could be
usually
fake?
don't get a header that says Joe Rogan Experience.
Yeah,
And we're like,
yeah.
Maybe we look at it for 2 seconds. And then we're
Okay.
like, this is probably fake, but just in case, let's have someone field it for a second.
Yeah.
And it turned out to be real. And then we shat our pants. It was cool.
It was terrifying.
Why did he want you on?
His daughter was a fan.
Okay, was that
Straight up.
really it? That she
Straight
was the
up.
one who was like, yeah, you got to get Sam Colby on.
Yeah, she was like, a major fan, and she's bought like all of our merch and stuff, and we have like she said she has like posters of us like in her room and stuff. So Joe sees us every morning. Apparently.
No, are you
Crazy.
serious?
So she was like nagging him to like get us on, and he finally like looked us up, and obviously he's super into the supernatural
Yeah.
stuff. So he was just like, all right, this could be a good fit.
Yeah.
But
How nervous
Shout
were
out
you
to
going on there? Do they prep you with like, here's what he's going to talk about, here's the outline, or no? Is it just we're going to show up and do our best?
Nothing. We didn't really hear any information other than like some flights being sent our way until we walked in. And then even beforehand, he just came up and was like, yeah, let's, we'll talk on the podcast, and then just hopped in the room and we started. So like we didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
All we knew, obviously we'd seen a bunch of his shows. All we knew was going to be a long podcast. And we got sent a couple of clips after we accepted of Joe saying he like really doesn't believe in the paranormal. And so we were kind of nervous.
Who sent you that?
Just like PR. people.
Joe's PR.
No, ours.
Oh, your
we
PR,
just like
got
looked into it a little bit because we were like, yeah, I wonder if he's into the ghost stuff. 'Cause, talks about conspiracy theories and stuff like that. And he has ragged on a lot of ghost hunters in the past. So we were like, like, is he gonna, like our stories or not? But
Do you think you convinced him?
We took a very vague approach to it. So we basically didn't say ghosts are real or ghosts are fake. Like we didn't tell him that directly. We were just like, well, there could be possibilities of blank, like energies, certain things like that. So I think keeping it as a vague approach.
he was extremely fair.
Okay.
For someone that probably before our podcast didn't believe at all, he was incredibly fair, hearing us out and hearing our stories. And I think he believed that we believe, but I don't know if he believed after us.
Yeah.
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 Do you guys hang out with him afterwards? Like when the podcast ends, what happens to Joe Rogan?
So his daughter came to the studio right after, and we had a giant like a giant cardboard box of our merch that was shipped to us. And we were about to go back to LA. So we were just like, all right, we might as well like give this all to her. And then as we were pulling out, he ran to our car and was just like, do you guys actually want to go to like a steak dinner?
Yeah.
We're like, yeah,
No
sure, why
way.
not? So we all went to like a fancy spot like down the street and hung out with him.
How is that going to dinner with Joe? Were people just like constantly coming up saying, oh my God, it's Joe Rogan?
Well, he had security and he walked in with like the hood up, head down. Like,
No way.
I've never seen anything like
It
it
was
before.
definitely
It was
next
cool.
level. But I mean, he was incredibly genuine, like super down
Extremely,
to earth.
extremely.
We met his family, you know, and like just, you know, shot the shit, you know, off camera for like 2 or 3 hours. He was super nice, like gave us a lot of his time. It was really
What was
really
most surprising about Joe Rogan?
I honestly think the most surprising thing was how open he was to our stories, because I was imagining him being very anti-paranormal and, you know, not making fun of us, but making fun of the idea of something else. But he was pretty fair with everything and like went down the crazy roads of like talking about all the different sides of the paranormal and ghost hunting and everything with us, and it was really cool. And then he followed up actually. He, you know, started texting us ghost stories, and then he
He was
actually,
texting you guys.
yeah, just like, hey guys, check this out, this like ghost story. And then he invited us out to his comedy store in Austin to do a ghost hunt. So we're about
Which we're
to,
doing
No.
next week.
Are you
We're
serious?
going in. Yeah, we're gonna see him next week.
Yeah,
When is that going to drop?
that's
No,
yeah,
March.
or something. It's like our first or second video of the year. But yeah, he was like, dude, I think my place is haunted. He's heard of some like murders that happened in the building, and he was like, I want you guys to investigate it. I think this stuff is really cool. So yeah.
Is he going to be
really
in
nice.
it?
Yes.
I hope so.
Wow.
A little bit. He's not gonna be like
Okay.
investigating with
Yeah.
us or
That's
anything.
crazy.
Yeah, but we're gonna do like an interview, and he'll probably walk us through the spot, and then let us do our own
That
thing.
is
How does that
absolutely
feel? Like on a
incredible.
personal level, outside of all the YouTube, the fame, this and that, just like casually meeting Joe Rogan and
It's
like him hitting
crazy.
you up.
It's crazy. I remember when we got the email. It was right after last Hell Week, I think, which is October for us.
Yeah.
And again, we thought it was fake at first, but it's just surreal. Like he doesn't even do any YouTubers at all. I think he's done
Right.
like a handful.
Mr.
and maybe that's
Beast
it.
and
More
Like
plates,
Marcus
more dates.
Brownlee.
Marcus Brownlee.
Yeah, maybe that's it. I don't know if there's anybody else, but yeah, we were just shocked. We were just confused.
Definitely. I mean, he's definitely the most famous person
Yeah.
we've met. But what's really cool is how down to earth he is.
Yeah,
like when
definitely.
he texts or invites us out to things, he's just like, yeah, like so casual. And I'm like, dude, you could be texting anybody in the world. Why are you texting us? So it's really cool that, you know, he's so nice.
Yeah, he's
so
a nice
cool.
guy.
Well,
cool.
Yeah.
on a different level, you guys are very, very down to earth as well. And you guys have, at this point, 11 million subscribers on the main channel, and then a few other million here and there on side channels or your own personal channels and stuff like that. I wanted to bring up really quickly the funny story of how I met you guys. I don't know if I've told you guys this. I was actually on... I swear to God, I don't bring this up just on my own, okay? It's
I
just,
don't even
it's
know the
just
story.
by
I don't
happenstance.
know.
I was on a Tinder date. I said it. Okay, I was on a Tinder date.
I feel like most
Wait,
of
you're
your
on
stories,
Tinder, Jack?
Not anymore. No, that was like the old me.
All of his stories
okay?
start with, I was on a
I was
Tinder.
gonna
I
say,
swear,
I've heard
and
that
Tinder
many
is not.
times
It's not like a
before.
big part of my life or anything.
Come
So
on,
don't go around
Jack.
thinking that it is. But I was indeed on a Tinder date with somebody, and she said, "Oh my God, there's these two YouTubers. I'm so obsessed with them. They're like my favorite ever. Their names are Sam and Colby."
No way.
And I'm like, okay, cool. And I like look you guys up. I saw, and then she was like, yeah, they just moved to Vegas. Oh my gosh, what if I ran into them at a
How does that
Starbucks?
feel to be like on a date with this girl and she's fangirling,
she's
over
fangirling
someone
about two
else
other guys?
in front of you?
Yeah.
Is that disrespectful
I
or
mean,
not?
no,
Like,
it was like it was
isn't
in
it a little bit.
It was in a casual way, but she's like, I watch every single video as soon as it comes out. Like they mean the world to me. I'm like, okay. It didn't bother me. I thought it was just kind of like funny.
They didn't say just like how extremely hot we were. Or
And
anything.
I mean, she was saying that she was like madly infatuated with you guys. So
Jack, if you could get the same haircut as they have,
that's the only difference, guys, is the hairstyle.
so.
But okay, anyways, I was on this date and she brought you guys up, and then I go to Vid Summit like 2 weeks later.
yes.
And then I hear like talk on the street. People are like, these Sam and Colby guys, like they're here. And I'm like, oh, Sam and Colby, like they just moved to Vegas and they're like my age. That's all I knew. Never seen a video, none of that. I knew you're my age, you live in Vegas, and then my Tinder date, she brought that up. And then I see you guys just by happenstance. And I'm like, hey guys, Nice
On
to
the
meet
ship,
you.
right?
On the ship. It was at an after party after Vid Summit, and I see you guys like,
Was that the one we were at
yeah,
together?
the ship.
Yeah,
Yes.
I remember that.
Yeah, and
The ship.
the
yacht.
Yeah, the yacht. Whatever it
boat.
was.
Yeah.
It was
The boat
it was like
party.
an after party for this massive YouTuber convention.
As if it's some
I think of
massive
I
cruise
think like
ship.
a naval ship or something like that. On the ship.
The sailboat, the
the
tiny
Queen
little
Mary,
boat.
man.
It was a ship, guys. It was a massive yacht ship. But anyways, we were on this boat, and I see you guys getting some food. I'm like, hey guys, I'm Jack. Nice to meet you. I live in Vegas. And you guys were so like friendly, chill. You gave me your phone number, and then we just like ever since then have been like hanging out. We get food and stuff like that. Some pickleball here and there.
You know what you should do is text that girl a picture right now.
So I feel like it's a pretty commonly known fact that running a business can be incredibly challenging, and trying to stay organized using a bunch of different spreadsheets and softwares can end up taking more time and energy than what it's worth.
Now, here at the Iced Coffee Hour, we're all about simplifying things and making them as easy as possible. And our sponsor, NetSuite, is able to help you do just that as long as you remember these three numbers: 37,000, 25, and 1. 37,000 because that's how many companies have already switched to NetSuite and stopped doing things like typing in manual data entry and searching throughout scattered information. 25 because NetSuite has spent 25 years helping businesses drive down their costs. And 1 because NetSuite is an all-in-one solution that allows you to manage all of your KPIs or key performance indicators with one efficient system.
NetSuite can help reduce the mistakes from manual data entry and prevent the busy work from scaling with your business.
So get a full picture of your business and help make better decisions faster. Right now, you can download NetSuite's popular KPIs checklist for free at netsuite.com/ice with the link down below in the description.
Again, that's netsuite.com/ice to get their famous KPIs checklist for free at netsuite.com/ICED. Thank you so much, NetSuite, and back to the episode.
You know what you should do is text that girl a picture right now.
Oh,
Fuck with her a little bit.
dude, yeah.
Do it.
See if
It's
she
been a year and a
responds.
half.
By the end of the
Do it.
podcast, she's got another date.
Yes, how about this, guys? Keep watching because at some point in the podcast, we will show you her response.
She's like, ew.
Yeah, she's like,
Don't get me in there. Just
there we go.
Hey.
She's like, wow, they're so much hotter than you.
When's the last time you talked to her?
I don't know. Not like super long ago.
Let me see the last message.
I'm not going to show you the last message, bro.
Okay, the last message.
we wanna
Okay,
see
the
it.
last message.
Come
I
on.
think she actually texted me somewhat.
The last message is like,
Oh, she
gets
said, "Did you
ghosted.
break your leg or what?" When I got the injury.
So you're still talking to her a year and a
No,
half
that was like
later?
the first time she reached out to me in a long time.
In a year and a half.
Why is this what you really want to dive into, Graham?
we
here
love
for-
diving into Jack's love life.
We're here for Sam and Colby, okay? But anyways, that's the case. We became friends, and ever since then, we've been hanging out. For those that are wondering, like, this is the most unlikely collaboration that we've ever thought of because we're in very different circles.
I was gonna say, have you ever had anybody like us on this podcast?
Mr. Ballin.
Mr.
Ballin.
Ballin.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Mr. Ballin. Yeah.
Does the scary stories, right?
Yeah.
He's crushing it.
Yeah, the episode that we did with him did like over 2 million views.
Dude,
It was-
everything he touches turns to gold. It's
It
awesome.
does. He's got that star
clips.
power.
He's got that star
Yeah,
power.
yeah.
Yeah.
Clips
there
all
we
do
go.
over 1 million views.
Yeah, the clips are
Easily,
insane, too.
Yeah, he took over the space.
So
for
I'm
sure.
curious, how did you guys first meet?
Our parents made us do band, and we both didn't really like doing it, and so we kind of bonded over the fact that we didn't want to be there.
What instrument did you guys pick?
You were
I
alto,
was saxophone,
Okay.
clarinet.
I did clarinet,
Clarinet. Okay, cool.
and then tenor saxophone in jazz band.
Okay.
So
Good old stuff.
And what didn't you like about that?
it was something that my grandpa was the drum major. And so like he made my dad do band, and then my dad like forced me to do band as well. So it was just one of those things where it's like when your parents force you to do something, you're just not gonna like it no matter what it is. I didn't hate it. Like looking back on it, I'm glad I did it because I met a lot of lifetime friends and stuff. But it was just one of those things where I was like I hated going to practice, especially in the summer and stuff. Like we'd miss a month of our summer just because
Yeah,
we were
there's a lot of work.
yeah practicing all
There
the
was
time.
one good thing about band camp, and that was the really hot senior drum major.
Drum major.
Yeah, so we both had a crush on the senior drum major,
Okay.
and we couldn't talk to her at
at
all. And so that's what we bonded over. We sat in a corner, twiddling our thumbs, going, "You go talk to her. No, you go talk to her." I'm like, "We can't talk to her. Let's talk to each other." And so that's how we became friends. We had a little crush, and we were like, "Fuck! Like, how do we talk to this girl?" And then so we decided, all right, let's I guess change that.
Yeah, we were very shy and awkward people. We still are kind of shy and awkward right now, but we were very, very shy and awkward like when we were like 13, 14.
Yeah.
And so we bonded over the fact that we couldn't talk to this girl. And like we were both like you said, just trying to like dare each other to go up and like say something, but we couldn't. And so we were just like, hey, we both have this issue. How do we solve it? Let's go to the mall. The only thing in Kansas City, like where everybody went to from all the school districts, was this one mall called Oak Park Mall. Yeah, we decided to go there every single weekend and throw ourselves in the deep end of social situations and kind of like not even just pick up girls, but like go talk to everybody in any social situation to kind of put ourselves out of our comfort zone to learn how to talk to people.
So what's like a specific experience that you guys dared each other to do at the mall? To like
Go
raise
high five.
confidence?
First person to high five 25 people wins. And so we'd run around like to everybody. Like just like random things that
good.
would get your heart racing.
Yeah.
Or like be like, all right, so we play this. Well, we got this from Kong from Simple Pickup.
Yeah.
This is a YouTube channel a long time ago that taught confidence
Love
to
that
guys.
channel.
But anyway, this is one of the games. It's basically called Go. So I would tell him like, hey, go fall in front of that group of girls right now. And if you don't do it, 20 push-ups. And so we do
On the
things like
spot.
that.
Yeah.
So like, you either do the push-ups or you go make a fool of yourself. Or I get to tell him the pickup line that he has to go use on the next girl. And it was atrocious.
But the crazy thing about that game specifically is like why it was called Go is I think we had a 5-second rule where he would like prompt me with something like go fall in front of these girls and then count down from 5. So I couldn't even have
You can't
like,
think about
excuses.
it. Once you think about it for more than 5 seconds, you're going to
you don't do
overthink
it.
it, and then you're going to be in your head, and you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
And again, we're not recommending that everybody does
Right.
this and stuff, but we were 15 years old at this point, and so it really worked for us back then, being like minors, and like I wouldn't recommend like a 27-year-old to like go fall in front of a bunch of girls. and
Yeah.
stuff,
But it taught us like
Why-
a lot about rejection.
Why were you so shy? Why do you think that is?
but probably how we grew up, and
Yeah, just naturally.
Do you think there was like an experience you remember that maybe taught you like I shouldn't be as outgoing, or I shouldn't like put myself out there so much, or like embarrassment?
for me just generally like it was insecurity.
Okay.
Yeah, like it was so bad. Like if I was sitting next to like a group of people and like the teacher called on me, I would cry because I was like I didn't want to be on the spot. Like it was horrible.
So is it like an anxiety thing where you get called on, like all of a sudden you kind of freeze and panic? And
Oh yeah, that was like my worst fear. I mean, that's most people's worst fear is like public speaking, but for me, like it was even just talking or saying hi to somebody. So I'm very glad we're out of that now. But I feel like a lot of young people go through that too, where they feel that insecurity.
yeah. So how long did that take you to overcome a lot of those feelings by going out to the mall and like practicing?
it's like a year.
Yeah,
right?
probably like we really noticed a difference after a year, and I would say we were very, very different people after 2 years.
But we worked at it. Like we would write down exactly what we wanted to do and like the challenges and stuff. And we didn't treat it as like, oh, let's just go to the mall and like gain confidence. It was like we put it on
was a
whiteboards
plan.
and stuff like that.
Like my dad would drop us off at like 10 a.m. at the mall and then pick us up at 10 p.m. and we'd be running like, these games and stuff like that the entire time.
Would he know what you were doing?
Yeah, he encouraged it.
He encouraged it.
He like
did.
would even talk to us and brainstorm about things that we could do, like things we could say or things that we could practice to like get better at speaking.
So how long did it take you to get good at that? I can imagine after like 2-3 months, you're getting pretty proficient at going up and be like, all right, we know we could high five strangers, but can you get a phone number?
Exactly.
All right, first to get 3 phone numbers, like now, go.
Exactly. I mean, it escalated pretty quickly. I mean, it started off with high fives and ended with, singing carols on the food court tables in front of like 500
Were you
people.
filming it?
We didn't for 2 years, but that's where our Vine career started. So when we did this for like 2 years, then, Colby came to me and being like, hey, I see these people on Vine, these MadCon boys back in the day. They're doing a lot of stupid pranks in public. We pretty much do that already. What if we just film it? Because we can do exactly what they're doing. And we literally do it every single weekend, but just for fun. And so that's where the Vine and social media thing started.
What was the first Vine you posted?
Well, it was at the Oak Park Mall.
Okay.
And,
This Oak Park Mall. I want to go to that.
Yeah, it's
legendary
legendary.
spot. They hate us. We're actually banned there for life.
Are you actually?
We're banned there for life, but we're in their Zumiez.
Yeah.
Have you been back recently or anytime?
Yeah, we go back.
And
It's
they're cool
like-
with you guys now.
Well, if they saw us, technically they can arrest us.
They can arrest us at any time, technically, because we signed like a contract or whatever.
If you step foot in the mall,
We
they
get
could.
arrested immediately. But we've been
Yeah,
back.
so for legal purposes, we haven't been. And
We've never been
back.
back.
Can't you hire a lawyer, just overturn that and just like work it
Probably.
out? Like it might be worth it just to be able to go back to like the place it started.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not that big of a deal.
What was the one prank that you did that got you like banned for life?
Oh God.
It was at the couch.
Yeah, but we took a couch out of like one of the public areas. Both got on it, rode up and down the escalators a couple times, and then put the couch back. And they're like, "That's destruction of property or something."
Was this on Vine?
yeah,
You filmed it.
yeah, it's funny.
It was bad. It was bad.
But
It's a
we didn't
harmless
steal it.
prank.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it's
that's
a
like
harmless
that takes a
prank.
lot of confidence to do that. Yeah. That's like not just your average person, not even like not your top like I don't know, 10% of people in confidence levels would do that.
Exactly. Yeah. But we had just finished that year of gaining the most confidence we've ever had in our entire lives. So we were like on cloud 9 of like not giving a fuck.
As you already may have heard me mention, I recently hurt my ankle playing basketball, although we were cooking the opponents 11-3. Going through this, I realized just how hard it is to get a hold of a doctor, let alone finding a doctor that accepts new patients and accepts your insurance.
And that's where our sponsor, ZocDoc, comes in. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare highly rated in-network doctors near you and instantly book appointments with them online. All you need to do is download the app, type in the problem that you're experiencing, select the time and date you need the appointment, and find care. ZocDoc then gives you a long list of suitable doctors in your area, as well as their availability.
Every doctor on ZocDoc comes with real patient reviews, which makes them a very reliable source when you're trying to find the right fit.
And once you've found the right doctor, all you got to do is pick the time that works best, fill out your info, and you're good to go.
It's really that easy.
Just go to the link down below in the description or go to ZocDoc.com/ice to get the ZocDoc app for free.
And then you can find and book a top-rated doctor today. Once again, that's ZocDoc.com/iced, ZocDoc.com/iced. And with that said, let's get back to the episode.
So what was that first Vine that you posted?
It was called
at
First
the-
Vine Yo.
Okay.
It's super
Basically,
stupid.
We
but-
just did what, the craziest thing that we had been practicing thus far. And so we just screamed, "This is our first Vanya." We jumped on to like the food court and like screamed at the top of our lungs. And it was like 6 p.m.
Yeah.
Everyone's eating. There's probably 300 people there. Screamed at the top of our lungs and then jumped off and ran around.
Yeah.
And it was literally
we literally
so
were just like,
stupid.
First Vine Yo. And then screamed, jumped off the table.
What were
That's it.
people's reactions when they see that? Are they laughing? Are they clapping? Or are they just like,
I don't think they were
Most people were just kind of like, what are these guys doing?
Yeah, dead silence. It's super
It's
awkward.
super bad.
there's this guy that I follow on TikTok who does similar sort of social experiments, and he shows that like you could do whatever you want in public and nobody cares. And
Yeah.
he'll walk through a mall just like this, and you see people just straight ahead. They pay no attention. He's like, you could act however you want in public, and no one's gonna do anything, and no one cares, so it doesn't matter.
Dude,
so
I think that's
it's
like the
kind of
biggest thing we realize
Yeah.
of this entire process is like people don't care about you. Like as much as like that's hard to hear, you think that everyone's looking at you. No one cares because they got their own problems, their own things in their life, their own things that they're focused on. So you can do whatever you want, you can say whatever you want, you can be whoever you want to be because at the end of the day, they're going to focus on them, you're going to focus on you.
Or if they do notice you doing something like that, they'll forget about it in a week or two. Like
Right.
none of those people are going to remember our first Vine. You know what I mean? Like they're not going to be like, do you guys remember in like 2013 when these two kids screamed at them?
maybe they do at this point, but I don't know.
Maybe they do.
Be legendary 13 years later. Let's go.
I don't know. One of my biggest fears is getting up on a table at one of those like mall food courts and like yelling or
think
trying to
you need
get
to do it.
everyone's
I was gonna
attention.
say,
I
do
don't
it.
want
It's
to
a
do
freeing
that.
feeling, dude.
Yeah.
You
And
we
gotta
were
do it.
Or just
terrified
like
of it, too.
attention, because I've seen like the simple pickup people do it,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
I think it was Jason who would
Yes.
go on the table and say, "Excuse me, everyone, quiet down, quiet down. That girl right there, let me go talk to you." And then he would just walk up and like get a number. I think that was one of them.
Yeah, I think that's
It seems
probably where we got the
terrifying
idea.
to like get people's attention, have everyone look at you as like you're a disturbance.
Yeah.
But once you do it once and you realize your life is not over,
But
then
is
you
it a
have so
good
much-
feeling? Is it like a freeing
Afterwards.
feeling? Or is it kind of just like, oh, I just did that, and then you just like...
Yeah, I mean that's why we did it was because it was an adrenaline rush, and we were so shy that like pushing ourselves to that extreme, like screaming when we're not able to talk in classrooms, it just made us feel like we could do anything.
Yeah, it desensitizes you to all your other fears. Like imagine you do the thing that you're absolutely most scared of and you realize that wasn't so bad. Then the next time you want to do it, you can push it even further. you can push it even further. Or that other thing that you're very scared of doesn't seem so bad.
So do you think that anxiety that you had, even if it's not like anxiety disorder, let's just say it was like a derivative of that, do you think that's something that can actually be conquered and solved by something like this? Or do you think there's still like an underlying level of low-grade anxiety that people just carry with themselves their entire life? They can do their best to mask it, but you can't conquer it.
It's hard to say because obviously we're not like medical professionals at all.
And we were never
But you're
diagnosed
but in your own
anxiety.
life with the anxiety that you had.
I have always had anxiety my entire life, and even after 15, I would say like I was the most confident I was when I was 15, 16. But like it's always been there. I've learned that anxiety is something that you can like learn to deal with and suppress, but it will always be there in certain situations. But again, like it's something that you have to practice at every single day. Like if you're practicing constantly putting yourself out of your comfort zone, it's way easier, at least personally speaking, to talk to other people and have less anxiety.
I think it was very interesting, the difference between us, because I think to your question, it's a personal use case. I mean, we weren't diagnosed with anything, so maybe other people are very different. But for us, like after this experience of like the confidence era in high school and going through all the social media stuff, I feel like I changed and didn't go back any bit. But I also think I was like probably even worse in terms of anxiety and like, you know, social insecurity than you were. But nowadays I feel like once I was able to accomplish that, I didn't really go back to ever like that super hardcore insecurity and anxiety. But I feel like you maybe were different.
Yeah, we're like different in those ways.
Yeah. I feel like it's a muscle where if you don't actively exercise it, you lose it.
That's where I'm
And
at.
for me, it's like I used to be really social when I was like a real estate agent talking to everybody. And now I just don't have those skills anymore.
Yeah.
So I've lost it completely. And even now, like going out and socializing, it's like twice a week, really. And now I have to actively like work on myself and kind of think about it a little more than I used to.
Definitely. It's a skill set for sure. And I think people forget about that. There's people like you, which I'm jealous of, that like you can take that one experience and then use it for life. But yeah, for me, it's like I just constantly have to be putting myself out of my comfort zone to like feel that security.
So were all of your vines these like big stunts in front of people?
Initially.
For like probably a year. Yeah. We called it our public disturbance era.
Yeah.
Where we just like go in and wreak
But
havoc.
that was the
and do
trend at
stupid
the
stuff.
time.
It
It was
was.
like, you know, elevator pranks,
This is
and escalator
2014.
pranks. Yeah, that was like the start of the prank era. I feel like where it really became popular from
Right.
2014 to what, 2016, 17?
Something like
At
that.
least,
Yeah.
And that's when Vine died
Right.
in 2016. And so we had to pivot over to
So
YouTube.
were you making any money at that point on Vine, or no? It's just like you were gaining a following.
We were getting some money from brand deals every once in a while.
We probably started making money on Vine after about a year. We moved out to Los Angeles with about just under 1 million followers on Vine, and to give you a reference, we could barely make rent. Like maybe if rent was, you know, just around $3K with utilities and everything like that, we were making maybe like $4 or $5K.
We can say how much we moved out with though, right?
It would be funny if
Yeah.
you're like, we could barely make rent at like 40 grand a month. That mansion, man, it was barely
Crazy.
paying
We're
rent.
super humble though. So. No, we had 15 grand in our bank account.
When we
Total?
left.
Yeah, moving
Combined.
out to LA.
Yeah, that was our business
Sam Colby
account.
So you guys
Enterprises.
had a joint account at the time.
Yeah, we started Sam and Colby Enterprises in Kansas. Really? Yeah. Your dad helped us with that actually.
Yeah, so I came out and visited
Yeah.
my senior year in like winter, and we're like, we need to be in LA. Like, if we want to continue the social media thing, we have to. Like, that was the era of all collaborations, and that was the main way to grow. And then so my dad sat us down and was like, okay, if you guys can get $20,000, then I'll let you guys take a gap, or I'll let me take a gap year, and subsequently him too. And so basically we spent 6 months trying to rack up as much cash as we possibly could. And although we only got 16, they were like, go for it. That's,
Whatever.
you know, 3 to 5 months rent and expenses and stuff like that. Like, you probably won't die. And
What's
then we just went
what's
for
your
it.
dad's background to be able to say, all right, you get this amount, you could go and move here, and like you need X amount of expenses like that? Like most parents, I feel like wouldn't do that. They would just say, oh, you want to do that? You know, good luck. We're here to you have a crash to sleep on.
Yeah. I mean, my dad was a pivotal part in our success, I think. Like, he
for sure.
helped us form businesses. He taught us about personal finance. He taught us about like management, gave us a bunch of books to read.
And just the encouraging words were the best.
Yeah,
Like
he
he just like we would be doing all these crazy stuff, and like a lot of like our friends and family members were like, "What are you guys doing going to the mall all the time?" But he was just like, "No, you guys are like growing faster than everybody else. Like keep doing this."
I like that.
Yeah.
What's his background? What does he do?
He did a bunch of different stuff. We started in accounting, became more managerial stuff, and then
that's why.
you know,
Yeah, it's good with
marketing
money.
manager of a bunch of different companies and stuff like that. And he was bouncing around. But his main thing at the end was like just like consulting people on how to run a business. And so he looked at us as like a little business, and obviously he cared about us more than anything else. So he was like, "No, like you guys, like people don't think about this." You know, personal growth stuff when they're 15. This is like later on in life. So take this charge. Like here's like, you know, where you should learn about your finances. Here's how you should learn about your life and confidence. And here's books and stuff. He's always giving us ideas.
What books did he give you?
Dude, first one I will recommend to everybody ever. How to Win Friends and
I
Influence
love that
People.
book. I always tell people to read that book. I
Dale
love it. It's
Carnegie.
one of my favorite
If
books.
you're any walk of life, but especially a young person, read How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I agree.
It's an older book too. I think it was like early 1900s.
It's like 100 years old.
Yeah.
It's
But it
public
still
domain now, I
applies.
believe. So you could just look it up online for free.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
it's interesting to read it now in 2024. I just read it last year for the first time.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so
the
I
audiobook
waited.
is also free on YouTube.
Yeah, that's very true. But like all the examples that Dale Carnegie uses are like figures in the late 1800s. It's really interesting because
But
that's
it
like
all
his
still
time period.
applies, you know? It's like life doesn't change
Yeah.
too much. Or
Right.
the human psyche doesn't change too much.
Yeah.
So you can apply all those different things.
Great
You
book.
know, different people just like listening to different podcasts or like, you know, the Rich Dad, Poor Dad type of
Right.
stuff. Just the generalized here. Get a basic sense of life.
Yeah.
And then whenever we had questions, he was the guy to read contracts or help us negotiate on brand deals at the start. It was really helpful.
So when you moved to LA, did you live in that Hollywood and Vine building like everyone else on
did.
Vine? Did you actually?
We didn't move to
Yeah.
that building
Okay.
initially. So 2015 we were in Studio City, just a random spot.
Yeah.
2016 we moved to Vine because we didn't have enough. With
That was
15K in our bank account, we
yeah.
could not move there because that rent
That was the
expensive.
spot to be.
Yeah. It was almost $5K a month to live there.
5K for
very
a 2-bedroom?
for
a
two
two-bedroom.
bedroom and 1600. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like we pretty much, it was probably not the best financial move for us because
But everyone was there.
yeah, but it was the greatest thing in the world for our career.
Yeah.
Like
Was
we
that at the time Logan Paul was living there?
Yeah.
towards
Logan,
the
Kim
end.
Batch, Bieber had like the penthouse at the time.
Really?
He
Bieber
like-
was living there?
Yeah, he lived up on.
Did
I
you
don't
ever
know if I
see
spilled
him?
those beans right there, but no, we never saw. We never
Okay.
saw him.
We weren't that cool.
He had his own elevator, probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Honestly,
That was a
everybody
wild
lived
time.
there.
So how were you supporting yourself at the time? Like, were you making enough on Vine, brand deals to keep this going? Like, did you ever worry about like running out of money?
At first, for sure.
We were worried about it, but at the same time, we were on. Again, both of our parents said like, "All right, guys, you have a gap year. If you don't make," they didn't even give us like an X amount, but they were just like, "If you don't make it, pretty much, both of you got to go back to like KU or college, whatever." And so, yeah, we were live streaming all the time.
It was a grind
Vine
mode for
brand
sure.
deals.
There
What
was
else?
a big pivotal moment in our financial career, and that was probably 6 to 8 months after we moved to LA. So we were basically running on brand deals and live streaming for a while.
And tour money. We would
tour
go on
money.
tour and MC the shows because we weren't big enough. So we'd like pitch tour companies and be like, "Why don't we just like host them then?" And they were like, "All right,
We'll
you
do
guys
meet
have a
and
little bit
greets,
of a
sell
following."
tickets.
Was this was the MagCon tour?
This was right after MadCon, so we missed the initial MadCon, but
Okay.
like did
But those
things
types
called,
of things.
like
yeah.
Press Play, if you've heard of them, or Digitour, things like that.
Very small
Yeah.
league type of things. But yeah, basically we were running on that money, and that was okay. We were definitely making just above rent, but we were like, this is going to be very stressful for a very long time. And then we actually met Kong
Yeah.
in person.
Really?
We met him.
In 2015.
Him and Jesse in 2015, and they taught us about subscription services. And
How
they
did
were
you
like,
meet them?
At
VidCon or
VidCon, like one of those
Playlist.
like events, you know? Like,
Really?
It was just like a bunch of YouTube.
I remember, so it was an after party, and
Yeah.
I remember like seeing Kong in the distance, and then just like fangirling to Sam, like, "Oh my god, like that dude changed our lives." Like, "Oh my god, should we go talk to him?" Like, "No, we shouldn't. We can't be weird." And then
Give
we were
him a
just
high
like, "Wait,
five.
we've been doing that like our entire lives, like throwing ourselves out of our comfort zone. Like, we have to." And so I went up and like tapped his shoulder, and he was like in a conversation. He said like, "Give me 1 second, I'm gonna finish this and then talk to you guys." And I just straight up said like, "Hey man, like we are here because of you, and you changed our lives." And like just basically like it was like, "Yo, dude, we love you."
Yeah.
And he could see like how genuine we were being, and he was interested in our businesses and taught us
He's like,
about
"Let me help
subscription
you out."
services.
Yeah. He was like, I know like the best way to make money. No one's doing this, so I think you guys should try it out. And so we ran our first subscription service, and that was insane for us. Like
Yeah.
at this point we were making like $5K a month. And then when we launched our first subscription service, I think it went up to like $15K a month. And we
Something
were
like,
like,
I don't know.
oh wait,
Yeah.
we are going to
made
make
it.
it.
Yeah.
Like we're not gonna have to go home to Kansas. And that was like the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah, they were really ahead of their times for simple pickup. I remember when they came out with Project Go
Yeah.
for $5 a month, and I remember how many people signed up for that
Yep.
thing. And I was blown away. I think that was 2013.
They had to
did
be
that, or,
one
like,
of, if not the first
it was
subscription service.
Yeah, I think
for
we're
social
way
media.
ahead of their time. I thought it was a genius idea.
Yeah.
and I think also at the time they were doing like boot camps in addition to that. I mean, it was such a good business to be in.
They were super smart, like behind the scenes, and we were lucky to meet them. I think we met them 6 months after we moved, or less.
Yeah, probably like 6
To
months.
LA.
And within a couple months after that, they had helped us launch our first subscription service.
They
And
basically
Yeah.
took the skeleton of Project Go and like gave us everything, like all the code and stuff, and we're just like, hey, use this for your own project. And we ended up doing something called the Life Project way back in 2015,
Okay.
which was all about like teaching people like things that school doesn't. So like how to be happy to the best of our ability.
Yeah.
You know, obviously we're not medical or therapists at
Yeah.
all, but like how to be happy or like
all the
how to make
confidence and
friends,
stuff
things
that
like
we've
that.
been working on in the last
This
couple
might sound
years.
stupid, but did they just do this for free? Or was it like
So
we could
a
work
couple
out
of different
something?
things,
Yeah.
Like one, we were a guinea pig for them. So basically, anything
Okay.
any product and stuff they wanted to test, they could test it on us, and they also got
Yeah.
a percentage of whatever
Okay.
we made. So they were doing it for a couple different reasons. But
Yeah.
I obviously. The stuff they were putting into us, they did
Oh,
not
I bet. Yeah,
get
no,
a
it's just
return on
like-
at all. So shout out to them for helping us.
This was just a website that you guys would upload unique content to, and people would pay a subscription to access it, kind of just similar
Dude, it
to
was
Patreon.
Patreon
Yeah,
before
exactly.
Patreon,
Correct,
man.
Correct.
Yeah, 2015.
Okay, so that's massive. So you went to 15K a month with
crazy.
this thing.
Yeah.
Yes,
And then you
yes.
could support yourselves. And were you on YouTube at this point or no?
We were doing YouTube, but we were extremely
s-
small. Like we were getting like 0 views pretty much.
We also made a horrible decision. This is one of the contracts I didn't run past my dad, and we got scammed. So we were in a 3-year contract with a scam company that got all our AdSense since the day we started. So we didn't make any money on YouTube at all for the first 3 years.
Was that like one of those MCNs where they're like, hey, sign us, and we're going to help you with copyright claims and monetization?
And it was just like a click of a button, and then they got everything.
Was it
And
a
I like,
contract? That's why? Or were they like, did they have access to your channel or something?
I think they had access to the back end of our channel.
So
it
long
was
ago.
Wow.
And the contract was 3 years.
Yes.
And they didn't provide any value.
Zero.
Did
Zero.
they tell you that they were going to take 100% of the revenue?
No, they said they were going to take 10%, and then they just took everything. We didn't see.
Are you
dime
serious?
for 3 years. We got scammed. It was some Australian
bad.
company.
But why
like-
couldn't you just like kick them out of the channel? Because you
Well-
were like then with the contract, going outside of the contract, you were
Hire
scared
a
of that or
lawyer.
something?
How expensive is that? And
I
you got to
think
fight an
that's-
Australian company? That's difficult.
Yeah, we were just scared at that point. We weren't, doing really well, and so we were like, okay, like, how much is that lawyer? How much is this
Yeah.
big battle gonna be? And like, are we gonna win?
We also were just super naive to how much money you can make on YouTube at this point.
Yeah.
So we were only making our money from live streaming and Vine. So we didn't even know like AdSense was worth it.
Right.
So we were like, oh, whatever, AdSense, like no big deal.
and
They can have
then
it.
it turned off, and we're like, oh, we missed out.
Do you feel comfortable sharing how much that amount would have been?
I don't even know.
Honestly,
don't
it's
have to
not
think
that
about
much.
it.
No.
Again, we were really small. This is
Okay.
probably before 200K subs. So, I mean,
Less than 5K, right?
it'd probably be like
okay.
5K,
Dude, a lawyer would have been
yeah.
20K to
Yeah.
fight this thing.
Exactly.
So it wouldn't have.
We
yeah,
we
that's
were not
fine.
getting any views on YouTube.
Okay.
It really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Luckily, like,
It's a good lesson to at least
Yeah.
learn that
Yeah.
early on. I mean,
Yes.
a $5,000 lesson is really inexpensive.
Yeah, definitely. For
So
sure.
I think I found you guys shortly afterwards, just unknowingly through that killing prank with Sam Pepper.
yeah.
Could you walk us through? Because that I remember seeing that at the time and thinking like, this is crazy, and I've never seen anything like it before. And I had mixed feelings on it because I was like, it's so intense, but it's also like, what a video. And it
Right.
I think it blew up on YouTube at the time.
It did.
I think it
did.
had to be like the biggest thing on YouTube that year.
Yeah.
It's still on all the top 10 worst pranks ever pulled on YouTube.
10 years
Dude, I
later.
see this compilation.
10 years later.
Horrible. And this is in
Sonny V2
2015.
is like talking about this.
Bro,
Wait, he did?
I think
Oh,
yeah,
man,
it's
that's
like the top
crazy.
10. Anytime someone mentions Sam Pepper, it's like
yeah.
It's just crazy that we did that in 2015 and now being 2024, it's like 9 years later, this is following us. But no, the story was basically we, again, we're very small on social media, and we were walking around, what's it called? The Santa Monica Promenade?
Yeah.
Walking around the promenade, and we saw Sam Pepper.
Yeah, he was big at the time.
He was
like
one of the biggest. We were
Yes,
like,
I
wait,
remember
is that
that.
the big UK? Why is he
Yep.
here?
Yeah.
We had no idea really about him.
Yeah.
But we were like, all we know is he's a big guy. And so we're like, let's go shoot
Let's
our
go
shot.
approach him.
What's
Yeah.
up? And he was like really taken aback by it. He was like, oh, what? And we were like, dude, for the last 2 years, we've been doing like public servants pranks and stuff. And I think he did pranks at the time. And we're like, let's do a prank. Like whatever you want to do, let's do a collaboration. We had never really met another YouTuber.
Yeah, he was excited. Like, we were kind of confused why he wanted to collab with us because we had like 200K or something like that.
Still a lot.
Yeah, but he had like 2.2 million, so it was like 2 million more than us. And we didn't realize that he had like a little bit of controversy like surrounding his name, and that's why he was so stoked to just have somebody excited to film with him. And so we got on like brainstorm calls of like, how can we make the most viral prank ever, like. And we were just throwing out the craziest, most radical ideas.
And then he was like, so why do people like you? And we're like, well, pretty much everyone follows us just for our friendship. He's like, okay, well, the most worst thing that could possibly happen to a friendship. Someone dying in front of your eyes.
Like, we were thinking extremes.
And you guys
what is
like,
the worst?
We're like, that sounds good. Let's go. Press send.
Where's that contract?
Oh, God. That was
Bad,
horrible.
Bad. Very bad in retrospect, but if you think of it in a business perspective, it was low-key genius because we did it on his channel. It got 10 million views in 1 week on every single news station. We gained like 100 or 200K like instantly. So it like boosted us on YouTube.
It's probably one of, if not still, the biggest exposure we've ever had.
Oh, for sure.
Because it still gets talked about now, 10 years later.
I think from a branding perspective, that was probably a genius idea. I mean, very few ideas and concepts could be taken to that extreme to get that amount of reach and elicit that type of response everywhere.
Exactly.
I mean, that was probably a 1 billion view video when you really think about through all platforms, all the people that have watched it multiple times.
Over this whole last decade,
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, no, it's... People still talk about it all the time, and when we bring it up, they're like, "Oh, I've seen that video. I didn't know it was you guys."
I didn't know it was you guys either.
So, it took me a little bit to realize that was you guys.
Yeah.
And same as the following fat people.
was
I didn't
our first
realize
vine.
I didn't realize that was you guys either.
Yeah.
I saw that and I thought that was I think I was in like middle school or something at the time. And I saw him like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. I like, rewind or whatever, did all this stuff. And then I found out like probably 4 months ago that was you guys.
Oh, yeah.
See, nobody knows.
That.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows.
Yeah. Now, if you're watching this right now, you might notice that we're extra clear today, and that's because we're filming in 4K. It's very expensive to do. We've reinvested a lot of money back into the channel to bring this to you. However, we were able to grow past 900,000 subscribers by just doing the basics. And if you want to be able to do something similar, then our sponsor, StreamYard, is there to help.
StreamYard's a live streaming and content creation software that allows you to create high quality content with just the click of a button.
What's really cool about them is that all you need is a camera and an internet connection, and from there you can stream directly from your browser. You're also able to stream throughout multiple social media platforms at the same time, from Instagram to Facebook to LinkedIn to YouTube and more, which, by the way, is really helpful because if you're not on all the platforms right now, you're missing out because you never know which one is going to take off and do the best.
On a real note though, we've been using them for years, like even way before they started sponsoring the channel. If you want to get started, they're the best way to do it for free with the link down below in the description.
Again, we've been using StreamYard personally for years now and absolutely love them. And like we mentioned earlier, you could get started today for free with the link down below in the description. Thank you so much, and now let's get back to the episode. But Sam, people say you're an amazing actor.
Thank you. Most people don't believe me that was acting. They're still like, oh, he got traumatized. That was real. But I had tried to work on making myself cry for like 3 weeks before that prank.
How do you make yourself cry?
It was
You
just
can't
some
even
fun-
do it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't tried in a very, very long time, but it's just like you watch tutorials on what you think about, how you get yourself in the zone. And there was like, while we were shooting that, we did the first scene, and then the second scene is the rooftop where Colby gets shot. And so while that was whole prep thing, I spent like 30 minutes by myself in a car listening to sad music, being like, I'm actually putting myself in that moment of if Colby died in front of my eyes. And so like, yes, it was acting, but it was also me like genuinely believing it was
Which is
happening.
acting.
It was
It's acting.
impressive. Like
Method
really
acting.
impressive.
I have to say, I did research on that clip earlier today. I watched it a few times, and then I saw response videos, everything in the last like 8 years, recent things now, and I go back to watch it. even after I've seen everything. And I look at that and I still think, no, maybe there's a chance that's real. And you're just saying this, and
There's some of our
but it's so good.
friends that don't even believe
Really close friends.
that they're like, no, you can't lie to me. Like, that wasn't acting. You actually got traumatized. But cool. Yeah, believe what you want to believe. It's all good. But
It's just weird
it's
'cause
incredible.
You
Yeah.
can't do it now. Like I said,
I
it's like-
watched that and I cry. Like, literally, we probably watched it 6 months ago, and I saw them like, that guy is so sad.
It's like messed up. It's messed up. And we thought it was gonna like we'd have like more of a positive reaction, at least from our like peers and family. Our peers and
I'm
family.
sure you went in with the best of intentions.
I'm not saying
I can
from like
see it, yeah.
general audience, but like we thought like we texted the Simple Pickup guys like afterwards, like, hey, like look at this big like marketing PR move or whatever, and they were like, guys, this is horrible. Why would you
like,
what are
do
you
this?
doing? Like, our parents were pissed off.
Dude, I
like,
think that happens to everybody. You go in and be like, this is fantastic. And then other people, yo, what did you just do?
yeah,
It was a
exactly.
learning
No,
experience
look
for
at that.
sure.
Look how well it did. Everyone is watching it.
Yeah,
Yeah, luckily we got out of the prank world and started doing some things away from that.
Yeah.
But that didn't turn out good either. We got arrested.
Yeah. So I noticed from after that you went to abandoned buildings. Whose idea was it to go and explore places you shouldn't be?
So back in Kansas, other than going to this one mall, the only other thing to do was, explore haunted houses and abandoned buildings and things like that. And there's not much to do in Kansas. So it was something that we had done quite frequently, actually, when we were kids, and just like with our buddies. And so, yeah, after this random date, he was like, oh, I took this girl to like a cool like place to explore. What if we did this on our YouTube channel?
Yeah, because we were like after the whole killing best friend prank thing, like for the next like 2 years, we were just doing all the kind of corny like challenges that were a big thing in 2015, 2016, like what girls like about guys, like sort of things.
Were you growing in viewership from that? Or were you still riding that?
It was pretty much stagnant.
You were still riding that Sandpepper video.
Yeah, and I mean, we
Okay.
weren't like declining, and we still had like before Vine died, we had 1.7 million on there, and so we had like kind of a core audience from Vine that watched. We had like about 100K people that would like watch our stuff, I would say. Maybe like 60 to 100K. But like we would just make this content that we did not like whatsoever and just felt kind of like corny to us.
People
and
could tell we weren't super passionate about it.
yeah, we weren't like super happy while filming it too. So obviously you guys know this as well, being YouTubers and stuff, is that like the audience can pick up on genuine emotion. And if you're not having a good time doing something, people can tell. And so I think that was kind of it, where people like enjoyed watching us but knew that we were in like the wrong sort of shtick or niche. And so yeah, I went on a date with this random girl and looked up this spot called Hell's Gate. It was like in Pasadena or something like that, and like just like giant like dam that was like rumored to be cursed or whatever.
Was this a first date?
I think so.
So you took a girl to a
I really hope she was from Tinder. That would just make
Damn.
this
Yeah,
full
that's
circle.
first date.
She's like, yeah, let's go. I'm super down. I'm like, what?
How did she agree to that? Was she just like
No, well, I never saw her again afterwards.
He probably was
she got cursed
terrified.
from that?
Probably not a good first date. But yeah, a couple days later, we were running out of YouTube ideas, and I was like, why don't we do this? And we tried it and genuinely had so much fun, and had so much fun editing it too, like the post-production and all that. And it did really well on our channel. We ran with
3x
it.
all of our other stuff.
Okay, 300,000
So,
views.
Like, not only are we more happy doing it, but also we're getting such a better response.
Yeah.
And so we just kind of dove into it. We're like, wait, okay, that makes sense. The more that we're passionate about something and just genuinely interested in things, it'll like do better.
Yeah.
So we kind of ran with that and started exploring all over the United States, and then even all around. You want to talk Australia to explore abandoned places.
Yeah.
I think we
How
did
do
that
you-
for like
Everywhere.
3 years.
How do you find these places? Do people reach out and say, hey, I know this spot? Or do you research on your own?
So initially we had to research everything, which
Yeah.
was the worst part ever. We hated it, but after we did it for like 6 months, we just would get DMs and emails of people being like, oh, check this out here, check this out here. And then we met like shout out Exploring with Josh. Back then, like he was the biggest like explorer. He still is, I would say, like the biggest explorer like on YouTube. And he had a spreadsheet of like thousands of these abandoned spots, and he would be like super happy to help us if we were like, hey man, like we're going to Cincinnati, where's like 5 spots around here. He was like, go here, 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 here.
When we first started, though, it was pretty run and gun. We were just
Yeah.
talking about this the other day. We'd like go to a spot, maybe we'd have one location, but we'd stay there for a week, and then the first night in the hotel room, we just look up on our computer abandoned spots, and we'd try them, and sometimes they were duds, and so we'd go to like 5 or 6 places in a day and only film maybe 3. But then we just try our best to get in, just based on like Reddit stories or Google searches and stuff. So
And how was growth during that time? Was it exponential? Like you guys just started going really fast, or was it still pretty linear?
So we got like our initial buzz off of the Explore content or whatever, but I think it was in combination with us moving into like a content house that we called the Trap House.
not good for branding.
Not a good branding name.
All right.
But it was 2017, so we were like 20 years old. And yeah, we moved in with a bunch of like other YouTubers and this guy named Elton, who was like a part of a David's group at the time, the Vlog Squad.
Oh, yeah.
And so we would be featured on his channel a lot. And at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they had more subscribers than us, TFIL.
Or at least got more views. But it was like we had, I think it was at least between 5 or 6 different channels, and we were all swapping views. We were all like collabing on each other's channels. They would come explore with us. We'd come do, their stuff. And so this big collab house really helped. And then also we were in a much smaller niche than we had ever been before. Like when you compete with everybody else that's doing challenges or mainstream type of videos, that's one thing. But like you said, maybe exploring with Josh and 2 or 3 other people were exploring. And so when you're one of the only people that are doing it, it's easier to rise.
And we also figured out like how to make ourselves stand out a little bit more than the other people in the exploring niche. Like for example, Josh, and I would tell this to his face, like he knows this of course, but he's very like documentary filming with his explorations. Like he'll start the video inside the place and like it's very slow paced and very informational based. Sam and I,
he was focused more on branding and not getting arrested.
Yeah.
We didn't care about that.
we focused on showing the adventure of like running from the cops and like sneaking in and stuff like that. So we were both doing the same sort of niche, but we showed more of the adventure.
Right.
I think that's why like we kind of paved our own lane.
How did you get arrested?
It was in Florida, Tampa, Florida.
Yeah, it's just a horrible.
Yeah, so basically there was an abandoned school and it was under construction. And it was in the middle of a neighborhood, and we should have looked this up before we had a team or anything. But apparently in the state of Florida, trespassing on a construction site is a felony. It's like a federal crime. Wow. We had no idea. And so we hopped a fence where all the signs said,
of a
like,
neighborhood too.
Yeah,
There's
we were
probably
stupid.
like 50 people watching us do this, and so when we hopped in, immediately, apparently someone just called the cops.
Yeah,
So within
we talked about it
30
before
minutes.
too. Like before we even like we were with 2 other guys as well, and we were all just like, "Is this a good idea?" Like there were signs everywhere being like, "You will be arrested if you do this." And,
And did you just not believe the signs?
We believed it.
Yeah.
We've been
Makes for good content.
We've been seeing that sign for 3 years, mind you.
Okay,
Like, cause
that's
we
fair.
hop every fence that says you're going to be arrested, and we never had been arrested. So
And we
like,
had
this is-
ran from multiple cops like in the past with that, so we were like, "Oh, like
How do you run from cops? Do they not just like pursue you? I feel like you can't outrun
This,
cops.
this is
than them?
like a muscle that when you practice it, you get better.
You just get like faster running.
Better at hiding, better at getting around people. Like, I mean, think about it. The cop doesn't want to go inside the abandoned place. They don't know who we are. They don't know what we have in our backpacks, so they wait outside. We know the abandoned spot, and so we'll sneak our way around, get out the back, call a car, whatever we had to do to get around.
yeah,
Okay,
like,
so it's not like a on foot chase. Where it's like you're there.
If the cop is like
Running
running
on the
right
sidewalk.
behind us, we'd probably give up. But we
Okay.
would get around them.
Okay.
Well,
so I'm just saying.
So you're not going to physically like run from the if they're
Well,
like behind, right
if they're
behind
smart
you.
security
enough.
guards. Security guards.
Okay.
We've done that.
So in this case, though, how is this one different?
This was different because we did exactly what you said. We were looking out the windows and we saw like not just 1 or 2 cops like show up. It was like 10 for some reason because it was a federal crime or whatever. And so we all hid in a janitor's closet and we were just like, if we just wait here for 2 hours,
We're gonna be good.
they'll leave.
But then they got on their loudspeaker and was like,
We know you're in there.
We know you're in there. You have 2 minutes before we send in the dogs."
Oh,
And we were like, oh, fuck no.
And we're like, we cannot do dogs.
No,
like, that's
dogs-
gonna kill us.
That is
bro.
the line. Like as soon as they said dogs,
I
we
would
like
be out.
stuck our hands out the window.
Yep.
Like, sorry.
Yeah. So as soon as they said dogs, we were just like, all right, you got us. But usually what happened in the past is, we have little baby faces, especially when we were 20 years old. And so we were like, okay, they're going to be fine. Like, usually we go up to them, we apologize and say, hey, we're just taking pictures. We didn't break anything. You can see our footage. We didn't break anything to get in. We'll leave. And especially when we say we're from California, like, we're not going to come back to Florida. They're usually fine. Nah. These guys are just complete assholes about it. And to be fair, they're just going to make a lesson out of us. But they basically were like, I don't want to hear anything. Just shut up. Don't say anything. Get in the back of the cop car. Arrested immediately. They didn't hear us out. They didn't hear anything.
What was that process like of like being handcuffed and like what was going through your mind?
Well, it was interesting because we were all taken to different corners of the block so that when they all asked us like, why were you guys in there? We couldn't, come up with all different stories. You might have had the sheriff who was the dick.
I had the worst.
He was an asshole. I had a deputy who was actually very nice to me and was just kind of like, I'm only doing this because like Paul over here.
That's good cop, bad cop though. Like, it's not a big deal, but just tell me what happened, man. Let's get this over with. And your guy was like, no, you gotta.
Yeah,
exactly.
Seems like it's a tactic.
And they all like left off pretty quickly to the jail, and I sat around for like 30 minutes, and then my guy got a second call, so I went to go to another crime scene. They got another guy arrested who was definitely on some crazy drugs, and I was sitting in the back of the cop car, hands behind my back with this other guy, and this guy's riling around, freaking out, screaming.
I didn't know they commingle like different like people they arrest.
So too. I was like, what? I have to be chilling next to this guy
like a
for the next
shared
hour?
Uber,
Dude.
Yeah.
Definitely, crazy experience.
Carpooling.
Yeah, carpooling.
So what happens when you get to the jail? Like, do the stories match? I assume it's just like
kind of. I mean, I got to the jail like probably an hour before you did.
I was chilling with this dude for an hour. It was scary. But we got thrown in there.
It was bad.
And take the good old mug shots and you sit around in this like open area. It's like the holding area before you get unhandcuffed. You get your orange jumpsuit, all the classic stuff.
They tried to take like all my piercings out, but it like didn't work. Like they couldn't even take this one out. Couldn't figure it out.
And then they called you up for bail. And so they called me up, they're like, hey, your bail's $2,000. You gonna pay it? I was like, sure, paid it. So they're like, okay, you're gonna be released sometime today. We'll give you a call. They have Colby come up and say, okay, you're gonna pay your bail. I was like, sure. And it was $6,000. But the limit in order to pay by a credit card was $5,000. So
or just to bail yourself out.
To bail yourself out in jail. So he couldn't bail himself out in jail. So he had to either call someone or I had to go out of the jail to bail him.
What was the difference?
So we both got trespassing charges, but then I also had 2 fake ID charges, and which is so stupid because I was 22 at the time. So I had a fake IDs in my wallet, just like to get in the clubs when I was like 20 or whatever, for an entire year that I just forgot were in like the back of my wallet. And so they were like, when they were like searching me, they were just like, cool, bro, like what is this? And I was like, it's 2 fake IDs.
And those are felonies. So he had 3
Felonies,
felonies on his name.
So I had the $6,000 bail. He had 2,000.
So how do you get out of that? What ended up happening?
Well, he got to go home, and I got brought to the back, and I had to sleep overnight with the guy that
he got
Sam.
my guy. So the guy that I was arrested with,
his guy?
Yeah, we got paired in the same room, and so like I strategically so there's one bunk, like a sink, a toilet. That's it. It's a very tiny room, and like I strategically took like the bottom bunk so I could kind of like watch what was going on. And he was just like not to be mean, but like a schizophrenic, maybe had Tourette's sort of dude, where he'd just like every 30 minutes like be like, "Rah!" Like as I was like trying to sleep and stuff, like
Horrifying.
it's a little scary.
Very
Now,
scary.
are they restrained in there? Because I'm always curious if you're in with other people who are maybe a bit unhinged or maybe not mentally there, that maybe they should be restrained so that they can't just come up and like strangle you at night.
So each like pod had a different sort of I don't know, like what people could go in there or whatever, what type of people, I guess. And so the initial pod where I like spent the night, everybody was pretty cool. Everybody was like, besides the guy that was freaking out with me, he didn't do anything violent. He was just like definitely like mentally challenged or something. I don't know. But then the next day I got my name called. I thought it was Sam that was going to bail me out. But they were just like, Colbrock, you got to go to a felon pod because you have 3 felons. And so that pod that I got brought into was like where like murderers and things like that. Like, again, this was jail and not prison though.
Yeah.
Well,
did you
tell them what your other roommate was in for?
Yeah. So just to rewind a little bit, like the deputy took me to this like felon pod, and he was just like, dude, you don't even look like you're supposed to be in here. And I was like, I know, I trespassed. I'm not. Yeah. And he was just like, I was like, do you have any advice for me? And he was just like, just go to your cell. Like, your buddy should be able to bail you out in like the next, 4 or 5 hours. Just lay low, you'll be fine. And so I went and I grabbed like a random book. They had like books out in like the main like section of the pod, it was called. And I went to my cell. My guy wasn't in there. And I just like sat there for an hour, heard the door jiggle. And I was like, oh God, this is when I die. Like, this is when I'm going to meet this like cellmate. This guy walks in. He's like a bigger dude, like bald head, but tatted all over, like completely head to toe. Looks super mean. And he was just like, what are you in for, man? I was like, trespassing? He was like, oh, I was smuggling like cocaine across the entire country. And I was like, nice, man. That's fucking sick, dude. Oh my God. And then we just sparked up a conversation, and he was super cool. Like, he was like, obviously I'm not like saying criminals are cool or whatever, but like he was just a normal ass dude. And like once I explained like what I did online and stuff, he was just like, oh my God, like that's awesome. Why don't you come out to the pod and like meet all my friends? And I was like, I don't know, man. Like the deputy told me to stay here, and he was like, just come on. And so he brought me out to like the main pod, and I met everybody. And
now, what do you mean his friends? Like, how long is he in there for to make friends?
Well, he was in there for months. Because if nobody's there to bail you out, you have
you're
to
there until your court date.
Till your court date, yeah. So his court date was scheduled for sometime the next year. I forget. And so he was in there for months already. And he said he had a group of friends. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. And he was just like, trust me, we'll take you under our wing. Like nothing's gonna happen to you. And so like they were just like, he like literally shouted like as he brought me out, he was like, everybody come meet the YouTube kid. I was like, oh God, no, this is when I die. But they were super nice.
Yeah.
And
what were
like,
they in for?
Shoot, I didn't ask like everybody.
I'd be so curious. Like, why are you here? Why are you here? What did you do?
I don't know if you want to ask a fellow that.
I was afraid to ask.
I don't think you do well in prison.
Maybe not.
You're a little too cute for prison, man.
Hey, Jack, come on.
That's horrifying.
It was scary.
And did you learn anything from that whole experience? I feel like that'd be kind of humanizing towards people in jail.
Yeah.
Like felons.
Definitely. I mean, the biggest thing I learned, and again, it's going to sound bad, but I'm just saying what I experienced, is that like, even though these people were arrested and could possibly go to prison for years or life, who knows, they were all still normal people. They were all still like shooting the shit just like anybody else would. It's like, people think that somebody that's committed one crime is just an evil person for life, which of course it depends on the crime. I'm not defending like all criminals or whatever, but at the same time, it's like it's normal people in there. So I just realized like we were just, it was kids like my age that did worse crimes than me, and we were just like playing basketball together and like shooting the shit, talking about
or even
social media.
That did like smaller stuff. Like there's this guy that was sitting next to you for a couple hours, and he was like, dude, I've been in here for months, and all I got was I was smoking weed. I'm like, dude. Come on.
But
and now it's like
pays bail?
Now it's like some people are, I'm guessing,
how much was bail for smoking weed?
I don't know.
Like, shoot. I would imagine that like
I'm just saying it's
the time spent, in jail and not working would be way higher than the bail that he could post and go out and live his life.
Yeah, exactly. But I was only there for like 5 hours before.
Were people not like sad about being in there? Because it seems like people are just like
we were
very.
Sad.
Like, I would imagine if someone's locked away for a few months, that they would be maybe depressed or feeling really down, or it's hard to be social.
That's what you would think, but I mean, obviously everybody has their own situation. Sometimes jail and prison for some people is like a home for them because that's all they know. So it really depends on the person, I guess. I know the guy, my cellmate, was really upset because he was dating this girl who was his fiance, and they were supposed to get married. And his like marriage date was while he was in jail waiting for court, and she couldn't bail him out. And so like they had to like postpone all that. So again, it just depends on the person.
Got it. And what ended up happening to those charges?
We ended up getting them dropped.
Yeah, they were dropped.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what was really cool is that arrest when we left. So Colby didn't even know this, but I got out probably after 12 hours. He got after about 24 hours.
Yeah.
When we left in the middle of the night, hashtag free Sam Colby was trending worldwide, #1. And we had never had that type of notoriety ever. And so we're like, oh my God. And then so as soon as he got out too, we posted like our mugshots, which was not a good idea. We shouldn't have done that.
Really?
But like we posted our mugshots and those went like viral. Everyone was talking about it. It was probably the biggest spotlight we'd ever been on. That wasn't
for sure.
just like the best friend prank. And then our next video, like coming back to YouTube, we were averaging probably like 500K views at this
500 to 700K on the Explore videos.
on the exploring videos. And then we did the next video after that, probably 5 million in a month. So it's literally like overnight, we like 10x'd our channel just from this one arrest. And it was, you know, don't get arrested, but this PR stunt of an arrest was probably the biggest thing that's ever happened to our channel.
Why do you regret posting your mugshot? It seemed like there was nothing but positive. It was, you know, something you guys did a long time ago. And
Lawyer people saying like, don't be proud of it because it'll be harder for us to get you out of the charges.
Yeah, it was during the time.
fair, because it doesn't show that you're probably as remorseful as you should be and taking it as seriously. And it's a bit of a, you know,
because we were still
making
like
light of it. Yeah.
possibly going to go to court and stuff. And so
Right.
like us being like, hey, on social media,
What
like,
would have
here's
been
the mugshots.
what would have been the worst case scenario had they had the charges not been dropped? Like, what was the maximum for that, something like that? Like,
I
could it
mean,
be like theoretically
The
like 10
maximums
years
are,
in jail
like,
or like?
insane. I think like a felony charge is like we could do 10 years, you know, like for a felon charge, even if it is a trespassing thing. So, but no one really pays attention to the maximum because they knew like what we did was not a maximum felony, you know?
Right.
But it could have been crazy. I'm just very glad we got out of it and then it turned out so well. And that did become a pivotal moment in our content as well. We stopped breaking into places because we can't get arrested a second time. So we started renting out places, and that's when we actually switched over to Haunted. And that basically started this whole career.
Whose idea was it to do haunted? How do you pivot from abandoned to haunted? Like, I wouldn't think of that. I would
really?
I would just go like, we now get permission from the property owner and we maybe bring some exposure.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we were doing the Explore for like 2 years before we got arrested or so. And there was just multiple times that we would encounter creepy situations doing the Explore videos. And so we kind of like naturally ran into the haunted aspect. Because if you're in like a scary ass place at 3 a.m. anyways, that's abandoned, of course, when you hear a noise, it's gonna be like, what's that? Or whatever. Like,
And a lot of abandoned locations have haunted lore to it. So
Oh,
that was
yeah.
part of our
True.
videos. Towards the end, it was like every third video was like a haunted abandoned place.
Yeah.
And so part of the first aspect of filming was, all right, tell the story, tell them why it's creepy, and we're going to go at this specific time because of the haunted lore. And so like we kind of dabbled in the scary stuff before that, but then after we're like, okay, full-fledged into haunted because we don't really have the option to do the abandoned videos.
What I don't understand is you guys seemingly like encountered a lot of adversity and failed several times. It's like the Vine thing that got canceled. The Sandpepper thing, a lot of people would see that and be like, this is cruel. I don't want to
Right.
watch these guys. I'm over it. I'm not a fan anymore. That happened. You guys get arrested, which is just objectively not a good thing.
No.
But somehow that turns into another pivotal moment in your career where it just like, it's a whole different level that it
Yeah.
puts you guys at. Why do you think all of these bad things keep happening and they're just like consistently good for the career? Like how do you intentionally use those as like catapults?
we did in the past.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Well, why
with-
did it work with you?
That's a great question. I think Vine didn't work. The whole following fat people thing, like that was our first viral video ever. So we had like less than 2,000 followers before we posted that, and everybody hated us.
200, yeah.
Less than 200. Everybody hated us after we posted that. And so like it didn't really work at first, but we took all that like notoriety and we changed our image slowly. And like
It was just a PR stunt. A lot of
Yeah.
these were PR stunts, and it took a while for people to gain respect back, especially after the Falling Fat People, especially after the Killing Best Friend prank. It's probably 6 months before people were like, okay, I see they're good guys. For the arrest, I think it's intention. People had been watching us go in and out of abandoned places for 3 years at that point. We're not breaking anything. We're not destroying anything. We're doing it because it's fun, and we get out. We're not trying to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
And so when we got arrested for doing the exact same thing we were doing for 3 years, people realized, oh, they're not bad people. They're just like doing this to have fun, and then they got caught doing it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we were out there selling drugs or doing something horrible. We were like, we walked into a building and then walked out.
Yeah.
Do you feel like if those sorts of things happened nowadays that it could be responded to differently? I feel like these days people don't see nuance. They don't allow nuance to happen in a situation. They just want to see it, see what everyone else is calling it, and then like kind of just jump on it.
Yeah, I think timing for us was everything. I really, really fully believe if we posted following fat people or like killing best friend prank, maybe killing best friend prank would be different, but especially following fat people like now with TikTok and everything, people would just be like, "Oh, that's crazy," and then just move on. You know?
So you think people are kind of desensitized to it? Like it's got to be even more extreme today to garner that sort of negativity.
Because think about how much
Yeah.
you see on, or maybe I'm personally speaking here, but just scrolling TikTok, the crazy stuff that you see every single day. But when we did that, nobody was doing it, and so it was just like everybody was talking about us specifically doing that. But there's just so much content now; it's so saturated that I just don't think it's as easy to blow up.
What was the first paranormal video you did?
It was right after the arrest. We went to Biltmore, right?
Yeah.
Biltmore Hotel.
Biltmore Hotel.
It's
How do
in
you
LA.
find that? Okay.
Again, back to just our research days.
Yeah.
But before then, we were like, didn't have really suggestions for the haunted, so we went back to just, researching Los Angeles places and just going, oh, what's the scariest place to go to? And at that point, when we first started, we didn't really necessarily believe all that much.
No, very skeptical.
Like we had like one or two experiences. We were interested in it, but we were like, okay, most of this stuff is probably hoo-ha, whatever. And then so when we went in there, a lot of stuff started happening, and we were actually like so excited. You could see it on camera. Of like, wait, what? There's so much happening. We were with our other roommates, and it was just such a fun time. And we're like, oh, we can not only like have the same old fun time that we have been with the abandoned videos, but also have this completely new experience we've never had before. All that captured with the storytelling, and we really, really changed our editing style. All came in to become a whole different.
So what happened there? Like, why was it haunted, and what was your experience?
It's hard to say because this was years and years and years ago, but I do remember a story of the Black Dahlia. Was that
the Black Dahlia like died at the Biltmore Hotel?
She died in like an alley nearby the Biltmore Hotel and like was found with like cuts on her face that looked like a smile or something like that, and but nobody knew how she died. That was like the biggest mystery, but there was tons of murders and just deaths in that hotel in general.
Yeah. There was a lot of cool things that happened in the first like 8 weeks of like haunted. Like
we also didn't research that much when we first started. Like we had zero equipment. We kind of just went in there like us two and our roommates and with a camera and just kind of like asked around and like heard some stories from like the employees, and that was it. Like it's not like what you see us doing now.
Yeah, the difference between our first like investigations and then what we're doing now is night and day. I mean, we were just honestly just screwing around, having a good time.
So what was the moment that made you think, hey, wait a second, this could be real? Is there something that really stands out?
Queen Mary.
There's been a bunch.
The Queen Mary, I've heard, is very haunted.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
definitely.
The Queen Mary was before we started the haunted stuff. That was probably our first haunted video, but that was before the haunted era. It's probably like 6 months before we fully fledged into haunted, and that was definitely the first time we truly believed.
Yeah.
We rented out this room called B340. It's bottom of the ship. The Queen Mary allegedly had closed this room off for 30 years. Didn't let anybody stay in it because of weird deaths, people taking their own life, all those crazy things. And then they reopened it randomly, and we got someone sent it over, and they're like, dude, they reopened this after 30 years because it's so haunted. I know you guys do exploring videos, but you guys should try it out. So the first week it opened, we went in. All night we're trying things. We're trying to like hear stuff. We were genuinely like really interested because we didn't do too many haunted videos, and we didn't really believe. So we're like, well, let's actually figure this out. Nothing happened, and this is probably 8 hours of just waiting around trying to get something to happen. And then we decided, okay, well, I guess it didn't work. So we turned off our cameras. We were about to leave, and then one of our roommates was like, okay, how about we just try off camera just by ourselves? I know it's like 4 a.m., but like, let's just try. And when we turned off our cameras and sat there and really, really focused, that's when we started hearing everything. Like we just sat there, we're like, all right, give us a sign. Like, this is our last shot. Cameras are off, whatever. This is purely just for our own intention. Water faucet, full on, turns on, like 15 feet away. We jump up, run over to the bathroom to go see it, and it's still dripping wet, and we're like, what? That was like a crazy sign.
That was before we even asked, actually. So it's like we were packing up all of our bags. We were just like, all right, this place isn't haunted. It's like 3 a.m. And like as soon as we turn off the camera and just like we're about to walk in the hallway, that's when the water faucet turned on. Yeah. And so like we turned it on immediately and we were just like, what? And you could see like everybody's basically like in tears and you can see the water still dripping. And that's like what prompted us to be like, okay, wait, this only happened off camera. Let's turn off the camera and then ask like questions in a very serious setting.
Yeah, and then it started getting really real. Like people can probably say, water faucet and old shit, maybe it turns on. That's fine.
Sure.
But then we started asking specific signs, and we got this knocking to happen. And so when we would ask, like, hey, can you give us a sign? Immediately after, every single time, we'd hear knock. And it would happen beneath our feet, on the ceiling, outside, on a window, right next to us, wherever. It was all over the place. But we decided to just have a conversation with this thing. And for 35 minutes, the 5 of us sat alone and asked questions and got a response every single time to every single type of question. And we'd try to trick it. We'd ask, is there one of you? No. Okay. Is there multiple of you? Yes. And we get like confirming answers multiple times over a 35-minute course with every single question we ever asked getting an answer. Yeah. One knock being yes, multiple knocks being no. So it was a
Do you
really
think there's
weird experience.
any chance that someone is in a nearby room or, 2 people just kind of messing with you? Do you think that's a possibility?
We were so skeptical
Yeah.
that, and keep in mind, this is like 3:30, 4 a.m.
Right.
And again, it was like a 45-minute conversation, something like that?
At least, yeah.
I don't know. Something
Maybe.
like that.
Yeah, 35 to 45, yeah.
Something like that. But it was, the thing that like freaked us out the most is it was everywhere. So it's like, if there was somebody,
There would
let's
have
say,
to be like at
hiding
least 10 to 15 people.
all
because of
around the
all
room,
different
just like
things.
knocking.
Yeah.
But like,
And we decided to like, okay, let's talk under our breath. So we would like be lower than a whisper and ask questions, and then the knocks would still happen, loud as can be. And there was one time when we were like, do you want us, like, this is our last question. This is our last question, unless you want us to stay. And the entire ground shook. It was like boom. It was like huge.
Yeah.
It was almost like a massive bookcase or something fell over, and you can really hear us like on camera, like, which was cool because we didn't know we were being filmed or anything like that. But one of our roommates recorded this audio, and so we have the audio of the conversation and every single knock recorded, and so you can like watch it back of our entire experience.
You would think, how did a ghost would know hypothetically that like if something's recording or something
Right.
not?
Exactly.
Right? 'Cause
I
it's like-
mean, it's hard to say, but
Yeah.
like obviously we didn't have the camera at this point.
Right.
We were just like Sam and I and one of our other roommates thought we were just solely doing this like off camera, like in the dark or whatever.
Yeah.
But one of our friends just like slowly grabbed his phone and just like audio
Good.
recorded.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if like the ghost didn't see that or whatever, but we got everything.
So did this turn you into a believer? Because I know you've always been a little bit more of a believer than Sam has.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
this convinced you.
Yeah, no, I was convinced, especially because towards the end, our roommates were like asking more like spiritual or like semi-religious questions, and like it got into questions about like heaven and hell. And I remember a specific question one of our roommates asked was like, "Is hell real or is heaven real?" And it said no. And then we immediately ran away, and everybody was just like, "Oh, that was like a demon we were talking to. Like they were trying to like steer us away from God." And so for me, I've always been Christian, like born and raised Christian, and so like that was just kind of a solidifier.
And what did it do for you?
That completely changed my life. Yeah, I had not believed in anything before that. I wasn't religious at all. I was open to the idea. I wanted it to be real more than anything. But I never really had anything to convince me otherwise. And so after that, there's literally a video of me like fully breaking down on camera, like on my bedroom floor, being like, I've never believed in anything, and this truly convinced me. I had my family come out, and I talked to them all about this experience, how much it changed my life, everything. And that's honestly what really got me into wanting to do this paranormal stuff, just because that was probably, even though it was kind of negative, the things that we were hearing from this thing, whatever we're talking to, it gave me more of a sense of hope than I ever had before, because I never really believed in anything. And so this whole journey, this whole process of us doing paranormal ghost hunting, of course, great for business. It's really, really cool with the videos. But I think people can tell that we're genuinely interested in this because of how much it affected me and you and just our religious beliefs. Like, we want this to be real more than anything. So like,
Why
that's
do you
we
want
keep
it to be
doing
real?
Because I don't want to believe that when we die, it's black. Because that is not very hopeful. And so when I hear these things or see these things that make me believe that there might be something more, it gives me hope.
But isn't that kind of what religion is, just in a sense?
Yeah, I am unable to just take the words of a book and say that that is real. I'm like, everyone else
You need
is
some
too.
form of proof.
Yeah.
I need proof, and I want proof. And I know that's so
Some people
sad.
like that. Yeah.
It's never perfect proof. That's the thing that just is really hard for me to like accept, you know, with all of this information. It's never something that you can visually see, you know what I mean? Or it's like a voice. It's always knocks, or it's always like a curtain moving, or a faucet turning on, or a door shutting, or something like that.
Well, how do you explain some of these things where they test for people who can they're in the hospital room and they're being operated on, and then they could repeat back to the doctor exactly what they did.
Yeah.
Or they listened to the doctor and they heard certain things and they saw what they were doing, even though this person was like dead. Or I've also heard stories of kids being spoken to and can recall past life experiences in such vivid detail. And these kids never would have experienced that.
Yeah.
Or so there's one kid, I think, who knew a language that like didn't exist for like 1,000 years and could speak it fluently. And it took like some doctor at some college to uncover like, wait, he's speaking this language. That just, there's no textbook out there that really goes into this.
Right.
So like some of these things I feel like are pretty not 100%, but like really out there.
I think humans naturally have some desire to be spiritual or to believe in spirits in some capacity. And I think it's the same justification for religion, which I think has been the best justification I've ever heard in my entire life. And I've explained this to you before, but it's, if God were to just present himself and stop all of these catastrophes from happening, let's say like a war, or like a kid getting, you know, I don't know,
Something
injured
happened.
or something
Yeah,
like
sure.
that. Like if a God just came in and stopped that every single time, then it would show that God is real, and it wouldn't be faith anymore. It would just be a matter of fact. It would just be what is. But I think that there needs to be this component of faith and spirituality in every single human. I think it's just a part of existence, is to believe in something that's supernatural, something that's meta, and not like physically real. In the same way that if these spirits were to just show up and be like, oh, by the way, we're just here. How's it going? Nice to see you. Like, you know, I died 100 years ago, but I'm just saying hello. Like, it would not be faith anymore.
For sure.
It would just be a matter of fact.
No, you hit that like right on the nose. I feel like if we all had the answers, then like we'd be like, well, why are we here?
I was going to say, we talked about this a lot recently. We had a very, very intense experience this year as well that talked a lot about these concepts. But I think if you have proof, then our human life doesn't matter anymore. But if you only have faith, if you only are believing, then that doubt forces you to act a certain way. But if you know 1,000% you're going to heaven no matter what,
And it's perfect. There's no pain.
what's the point? Why don't you, you know, I don't know.
That's a good
Why
point.
don't
You
you
could just
commit
jump
the
in front of
crime
a
or-
boss or something like that,
Yeah.
and it's like, hey, start over again.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But having that faith or having that 1% doubt that faith really is makes you be like, well, I don't want to, because what if it is all black?
Yeah.
Because that fear of the blackness and the fear that this is your one shot makes you value your time as a human so much more.
Yeah.
What do you think happens when you die?
Well, my view has changed a lot this year. It's a huge roller coaster. But what I want to believe is that our souls go somewhere else, that we still have at least a memory of what this is. I don't necessarily believe in reincarnation, but I do hope that there is a way that we are reunited with our loved ones at one point. I don't know if that's heaven, if what God is up there, but I believe that now.
What do you believe?
I believe in something more. Obviously, I'm born and raised Christian, so
Yeah.
I tend to stick with like what the Bible says. But I'm very loosely Christian as well.
Sure.
So like I believe it's more of a relationship rather than a religion. But it's just like this is gonna sound crazy, and I know some people like listening, or maybe you guys like understand what I'm talking about. But like almost just like know there's something more. Like I can almost
Right,
like
you feel it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Or like when I talk to God or the universe or whoever, like you think, whatever, like I can feel like I'm being heard. And like I went through some crazy shit this year as well.
Right.
And I know that like something greater was like helping me through it.
I tend to believe the same thing. I think there's something bigger out there. I personally believe in reincarnation.
Yeah.
I like the idea that if something happens, that you would be able to come back as something else and maybe live a different experience.
Yeah.
I really like that.
I think it can all coincide too. Like this is getting like super meta and deep,
Yeah.
but like I think what if there's a possibility that you can reincarnate so many times until your soul reaches like a certain level to where you move on to heaven?
I love that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it can all coincide.
I think it could be infinite. I mean, the number of lives that you could live throughout all of history, I think we can't even comprehend how many experiences that could be.
Or here's a weird thought.
Yeah.
So there's this like video that describes this way better than I'm about to. It's called The Egg by In a Nutshell. But what if we are all the same person and we just don't remember each other's lives? What if I am Sam and I live this life, but I just never remember me being Graham. But we are the same soul, and all these humans are now, working together.
How is that different from The Matrix, where someone is just plugged in and all the experiences are just in their head?
Maybe it's not, or maybe this is all just like a simulation.
Yeah.
I've heard about the egg theory. It might have been you that said it to me.
I
Maybe
definitely
it
have.
was, that was,
said-
that
never-
was,
If we
I
ever
never
have
check. I
any
don't
like
think
religious
anyone's
talk, we definitely talk about the egg. It's my
Okay.
favorite video of all time.
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Okay, that
people
was
go
definitely you
watch
then.
it. But
so that's my subconscious thought, unfortunately, I'll just be the one to say it, is that it's just blackness. And I've died in dreams before, like several times, and not like, which,
Damn.
which is a weird
Okay,
feeling.
you wanna talk about
now,
it?
obviously,
No,
like
I've died in dreams too.
Yeah,
It's terrifying.
and it's
It's a
different.
weird, like, to me, it felt like a roller coaster. Like, that drop? Kind of like that's how I felt when I was dying in a dream. And I wake up and I hated it.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've had that experience when I that was a long, that was a Bloody Mary dream. Remember when we were all scared of Bloody Mary? As a kid? Yeah, I
Oh
got
my
killed
God.
by Bloody Mary when I was like
so
12,
scary.
and I fell out of the bed.
oh god,
Yeah, and right when I got stabbed by Bloody Mary, I felt the impact, and I woke up and I was on the floor. So it was me falling on the floor, and then my dream compensated for that physical feeling with some like mental projection. But in the other dreams, most of the recent dreams when I die, it's weird. Please comment if you've experienced this too. Everything just kind of goes like a deep red, darker color, like a dark and deep red color,
Wait,
and you feel warmth.
you feel after you die in a dream? Every time I've ever died, I wake
Woken
up.
up.
No. So I wake up, but shortly after I feel this feeling. So like one of them was a plane crash. Another one was there was just a nuke that just hit the city I was in.
I've had those dreams too.
Yeah, where you I
I was
literally
on top
watched,
of a hill watching
That's
the whole
could be too.
yeah,
I was on
that's
top of the
crazy.
hill. I was at my parents'
I
house.
hope that's not, we're not foreshadowing
And
something.
I was just
there.
looking over the horizon, and then just coming from the sky, just and I look, and I'm just by myself. No one's around me. I'm just like, is this really all that it is? And then just hits the ground, and I just vaporized.
Oh my
Everything goes like a deep, dark red. I sound like such a woo-woo right now, but like,
Yeah, no, I
and then
get
I
it.
feel warmth all over my body. I just feel like warm and red. And then 3 seconds later, I just wake up and I'm like, that was mortifying. That was horrible. I
It
hated
feels
that.
so real that I'm worried that I just see into the future.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've had deja vus where I'm like, this has happened before. Where did
Way
this
too
happen?
many
And be like,
times.
well, I think this was in a dream. I think I had dreamt this and now it's happening. So are my dreams maybe things that have happened or that might happen? I freak out over that. Sometimes I've even woken up and for the first 20 seconds, it feels like I have it all figured out. Like I'm just like, I saw some shit I should never have seen. And I know everything. It's like everything makes sense. And then as soon as I think about something else where I'm like, I want to write this down or I want to take a note. And just the thought of like, where's my phone? I forget it instantly.
Right.
I don't know if you've ever had that before.
Yeah,
interesting.
definitely. Instantly forgetting. I've never died in my dreams before.
Really? I feel
don't
like it's
think
a
so.
common thing.
I've had falling
Yeah.
dreams where you can feel the rush of actually
Right.
You ever
falling.
died in your dreams?
I don't think so. I always wake up before I hit the ground.
I die like a couple times a year.
I
There must be some psychology behind this, right?
Mine is probably once every other year.
Really?
Maybe once a year.
Wow.
Where there's like something that happens and
Ooh, that's
You
scary.
But
can
they're
tell
all in
between
different-
us that I fear death more than you do. If you never
Yeah.
think about it, and I think about it all the time.
yeah, but all of mine are in different ways. I've never had a dream where I've died in the same way. It's all different.
That's so weird. Yeah, when I used to not believe in an afterlife, the main like thought process that went through that is someone once said, like, it's so funny. This is their argument, not mine, but it's so funny that humans are so selfish that they think they're important enough to go on and like have all these other lives and all this afterlife and stuff. Why don't you just think that you're just an organism and then you die?
Just cosmic dust.
Yeah, like why not?
And everything come back technically? Like
Technically?
I don't have any
Well, that's
doubt
like-
that like if
Do
a
you think a
spider
fly-
dies,
yeah.
I do. I think everything is alive. So like I mean obviously like something like an ant. I think if you kill an ant, I think the ant has a soul just like anything else.
Yeah. I mean,
That's why I can
energy
never
is-
kill insects.
Energy, like scientifically,
anything.
cannot be destroyed.
Yeah.
It can only be like transformed into
Right.
other things. And so, like, obviously, when our souls, if you consider a soul being energy, like, there's actually tests. I don't know what it's called, so like, don't quote me on this, but like, I think there's a little bit of weight from your body that like, gets removed
they've
after
measured.
you die.
They've measured the soul.
So there is
Yeah.
certainly
something.
a soul that everybody has, and if energy can't die, then it has to go somewhere.
Yeah. It's one of the reasons I can never kill insects ever. It's just like that one little ant. I'll find it and take it outside because I'm thinking, what if that is someone I knew in a past life? Or like, so, I know it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. But like,
You have to call Jack
but like,
to come over
you
and
never know.
slot
But I
flies.
see that that's a life. Why would
Yeah.
I take a life when I could just for 10 seconds take it outside?
That's true.
And it cost me nothing to do that. And
Graham's
it's
a
just
nice
10
person.
seconds.
That's really nice.
Hit the like
Nice
button
for
for that guy.
Hit the like button,
please.
Subscribe. We got to get back to what you guys are doing right now. Okay.
Wait, I want to know this because this ties into exactly what you're
Yes,
gonna say.
yeah.
How do you test for ghosts?
Test for them.
Like all the equipment.
equipment?
All the
like
equipment.
that?
I've seen you come up with so many things for like the infrared cameras, some of the clicky things, some of the things you set down.
The EMF meters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What is
yeah.
like? What's the most common? How do you learn how to do this? How does it test? What does it show you?
That's a great question. We've been, we started at nothing, and then it's a bunch of equipment, a bunch of different tests, theories, experiments, everything. And what we try to do is we try to not just stick to like the main cliche like ghost hunting equipment, but there are so the main thing is just ghost equipment. Most of them tests for either motion, sound, like movements, or EMF energy, electromagnetic frequencies. It's said that anything in any object in any order carries a little bit of electromagnetic frequencies. So when things change in an environment that should not have to change, that's where you can detect something different. But like we like to use our own senses and different, experiments and tests for things that are easier seen and easier believed by people that maybe think ghost equipment would be rigged. So we use one of our favorite things is like these flashlights. We have a flashlight that turns on and turns off just by twisting it. We'll set it down and ask the spirits to turn the flashlight on and then turn it back off, and it will in front of our eyes. And it's just like absolutely insane. Or we'll have like cat toys, like toys that are designed for pets. And when you hit it, or when something like actively makes it move, it'll light up. And we'll just put those around. And so if things like we're outside of the room and we're like, hey, go touch that little cat toy, and it turns on, that way we kind of understand that it's not a piece of ghost equipment that maybe someone developed, specifically for this or entertainment purposes. We try to use everyday objects as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best thing that we use, the fan favorite, is something called the Estes method, where we basically get rid of all of our senses, where we have noise canceling headphones on, we have blindfolds, and so basically the person wearing the headphones can only hear a radio station just flipping through AM radio super quickly, so it sounds like going through channels, and then every once in a while, on a certain radio show, you'll hear just a word pop through, and you just say the word that you hear. But then the people that are outside of the person with the headphones will ask questions. So being if Sam's outside and it's is anybody here? And I'm just listening to these radio, I could be over there, or my name's Spla, or whatever. And it's whatever I hear, I just blurt out.
And most of the time it doesn't work. And that probably just means nothing's there. But when the consistencies happen over and over and over and over again for a span of 30 minutes, and it's just perfect communication, that's when people maybe were saying, oh, there
I also
might be
think
something more.
that's what people don't understand about our videos is that we film for hours and hours and hours, and then we just put kind of like the highlight reel all together in 1 hour. And so like we might be doing the Estes method for 2 hours, but only include like 10 minutes of it and include all like the best stuff that we got. But yeah, usually you just like hear static and nothing.
How hard is it for people just to trust you, not to hear the questions, and that you're not just blurting out words in response to that?
I think people trust us because, first of all, like we've always been genuine about everything that we do with the haunted side of like YouTube. But also we have guests that come with us every single week or every single month, I guess, where like we have them do it too. And so it's like, if you don't believe us, they're doing, like we make them do it and the same thing happens to them and it still works out perfectly. So it's like, if you don't believe us, do you believe
Do you
them?
have the recordings of the audio going through your headset so people hear what it sounds like on your end?
No.
That would be
But that is-
incredible.
that is really
yeah.
good.
Really
That's
good
what I
idea.
was kind of thinking.
We should do that.
Because I watched you do that in the Conjuring house. And
Yeah.
you were like, I think you mentioned like, don't or leave or something like this. And I was kind of thinking it would be interesting to hear what you're hearing. And like, shh, don't, shh, leave. And like, in time. I think that would be pretty interesting.
That is
It's a
interesting.
really good
We should
idea.
try that.
Yeah, we should do that. We've never done that.
We'll credit you.
Yeah, please. Help us get to 1 million subscribers. That's all you have to do. That's all we want to do.
That was good.
So, what else do you do in addition to that? Do you find that some of the traditional ghost equipment is not as accurate, or do you feel like it's a little too like hypey, or like why not use the EMF? Right, that's the clicking.
Yeah, so the
thing, or what's
EMF is just like the meter. It doesn't make any noise.
Yeah.
All it does is just like light up. Like, for example, if we were to put it up against these lights, it would probably go off like crazy or like next to an outlet. But if it were to go off like where there was no like wires or any technology or whatever around, that's when it's something considered like paranormal. That is the most, like, it's the cheapest ghost equipment you can get, and it's just like the most
you
common.
can buy EMF detectors at Home Depot too.
Yeah.
Like, the ones that we get they look different, but yeah, like it's a normal thing as well.
Yeah, but what's interesting is like, again, we've been doing this for now like 4 or 5 years since we got arrested or whatever, and just recently.
I love how you always throw
that
we
in
got
there.
arrested.
Well, it's just,
Yeah,
it's like the
begin
turning point.
after we got arrested.
for us, it's weird. Okay, I'm backtracking
Yeah,
a little
okay.
bit, but like our life, like I say life. That's
Yeah.
we live like the same
Our
life pretty
lives.
much.
Our life together, as a married couple.
Pretty much. It's like has been in chapters. And so like we usually say like after the arrest is like our big like chapter or whatever of Haunted. But like we've met so many people this past 6 months even who say, guys, do not use any equipment whatsoever. Just be open to it. Like
And
that's all
what
you
we
need
started
to do.
at the Queen Mary when we had our
Yeah.
biggest experience ever. It was literally just us asking out, really focusing in. And some of those have been the craziest experiences.
Yeah.
And again, I think the main thing is just trying to believe, like being open-minded to it and really being like, there could be something here. Let me try to talk to it. If there's anybody in the room that doesn't have like that same sort of mindset, it might not work.
Yeah.
What do you think is the most haunted place in the world?
Conjuring.
The
House.
Conjuring House.
Yeah.
We spent a week there this last year, and it completely changed our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, we've been there now 3-4 times.
3 times. Yeah, 3 times.
3 times.
Well, 4
and-
times because we came back.
So we
this
came
year.
back, and every single time, it is by far the craziest experience. Every time.
So tell me to not say this if I can't say it, but something that happened after you guys came back was Sam reached out to me and he was like, yo, you have to come over because we're just doing like a very close little watch party of this footage because it's that insane. We're not filming anything. We're just looking at it because it makes absolutely no sense. And to me, I was like, wow. Like this seems like a whole different level. It's like not for content. No being like super emotional or anything. It's just like literally just come over and watch this footage with us
Yeah.
to see it's like real. So I come over, bring a couple of friends, and then
You didn't
like
bring me, Jack.
10 of us. I think you were like out of town or something.
No,
Graham.
I definitely, a couple friends. I see how it is.
Anyway, we come over, we watch this footage, and it like blew my mind that you were throwing on this like tiny little close-knit event, not for content. And I watched the footage, and then Sam, you obviously too, like you guys are like freaking out over this.
For context, if anyone is watching, this is like Cody Satori method in the Conjuring house.
Yes. Yeah. And then also like, I remember like a week or so later, like you asked me to go to dinner with you and we just talk about it through dinner and then we hang out, we talk about it. It was like that for me was the point where I actually kind of started believing it. Cause I've been historically extremely just skeptical when it comes to stuff like this. But the fact that it can make this much of a transformation on somebody's life, especially when there was no motivation for him to want me to believe it.
Right.
It was just coming from a very personal experience. When you were explaining it to me, it's like, then it completely changed.
What was the real story behind The Conjuring? I know you've said this before, but for people who haven't seen it, what's the true story for people who have maybe seen the movie? I know it's not exactly one-to-one.
Not at all. Yeah. It's completely different than the movie, but like there was just generations of families that lived at this place called the Old Arnold Estate. I think it was deeded in like the 1800s sometime, I believe.
Yeah, and basically it was on the ground of one of the bloodiest, I think the bloodiest war per capita in the United
King
States.
Philip's War.
So tons of people died there. The land was just said because of that, a whole lot of trauma. There wasn't, like in the movies, there's like this witch that curses everybody and attacks everything, whatever. That's not necessarily true.
Right.
But yeah, there's so many people that died there, generations and generations of people that died there, and then the Perrin family exorcism.
Yes.
Well, it was like a seance.
It was a seance, pretty much. They call it the exorcism, but like it was pretty much a seance. It was in the 1970s. If you've seen the Conjuring movies, the Perrin family is very prominent in that. And what really made it famous is there were these Pappin ghost hunters back in the day, or they're demonologists named Ed and Lorraine Warren. And so they came to the Rhode Island house to investigate it on Halloween night, did this seance where Carolyn Perrin who was the mom, and it was like a family of like five, right? 5 or so people, levitated and like got flung across the room and was speaking in tongues and stuff like that. Yeah, basically she was possessed by something. We got the opportunity to interview Andrea Perrin, and she thinks that whatever medium was controlling the situation brought in something evil, trying to figure out why it was haunted, like opened up some sort of portal, and that's like what possessed her mother. But there's a bunch of different theories of like what dark energy could be there. And what we found out, not to spill the beans, is that like it's actually not a super, super dark energy at all in the house itself. There's a trickster in the basement who likes to play games on people, but it really is like less evil than everybody makes it out to be.
So it's not a dangerous house, you feel?
It's just incredibly active. And
I think the trickster could be dangerous if you got on his bad side.
there is a weird point in one of our videos that whatever was in the basement was telling us over and over and over again to come out to the woods alone. And wouldn't tell us why. And we asked all the staff and the owners and stuff, and they said, yeah, they tell us that all the time, but we are too afraid to actually go out into the woods alone at night, and we haven't tested it.
How do they tell you to go out in the woods alone?
So that's kind of backing up again. Did you see The Conjuring?
Yes.
Stuff? So
Off
you know
and on,
the Cody and Satori method,
I
like
did.
the knocking.
Yeah.
So we basically had them go downstairs. Context for the people that haven't seen it. We met this couple that when they touch each other, in any it sounds so bad.
Touch each other's hands.
Wouldn't touch each other's hands or in any way, really.
They
If they make any
embrace.
contact in any way. It opens up some sort of like spiritual connection where you just hear knocking coming from everywhere, kind of like the Queen Mary
It
experience.
basically opens up whatever we had happen to us at the Queen Mary
except
on command.
immediately.
It's, again, to what Jack was saying, it's something we've never seen before. We freaked out when we first saw it. We flew home. We told friends. Like, this is something we've never seen before.
And it was like if it were happening in this room, like you could hear it coming from the door walking over. It wasn't like in one spot.
That's the part that's weird, is that it's directional sound.
Yeah.
People
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
think
I
it's
heard some of the
footsteps.
theories on that they said maybe it was their ankle like cracking, and they could crack that on command, or maybe they had like a little thing in their toe that they just would like put some pressure on. There was something that would knock.
Right. And we saw all of that as well.
Yeah.
We even made a video like talking about everybody trying to debunk them and stuff.
Yeah.
As far as we know, we can't debunk it, but we also can't 1000% prove like this is real. I don't see how it can be popping joints, and that's just something that people are going to have to take my word for, because you could hear it everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
it
like
wasn't in-
footsteps walking into a room, coming closer, louder. You can feel it on your feet.
Yeah.
And it can happen in different areas as well. Didn't
Outside.
you test this? You tested this outside.
We tested it
Everywhere.
outside, different parks, on concrete.
Do you test
on-
without shoes?
Yes.
Yes. And we're hopefully going to be able to like put out a video about that sometime in the future. We talked to Cody and Story a lot about all these different things because it's
So
very controversial.
You did all of these debunking methods.
Yes.
And nothing.
and nothing convinced us that it was fake.
Couldn't figure it out.
And so, for those also for context, you would go through the alphabet, and then a knock would happen at a certain letter, and then when you combine all of these letters together, you can create words and sentences, and that's how you were talking with the spirits or whatever. Is it existing?
Yeah,
not
like
in the physical realm.
Once for yes, twice for no, and then we'd go through the alphabet to spell words. So we would end up having like hour-long conversations with full sentences and people describing our lives and different things that happened to them.
Or loved ones coming through, which was crazy.
Yeah, it definitely changed our perspective on the paranormal and became quite literally the biggest thing that happened in the paranormal world ever.
Yeah. And yeah, that's not even us like tooting our own horn. Like this was so profound for everybody
Right.
that like we basically like Cody and Satori have been around for a while. But they've only really started showing people that they could do this trick ability, whatever you want to call it, for what, like a year and a half, 2 years maybe?
Maybe.
In very private settings. So we were like the first people to really like put them in a spotlight.
On YouTube, yeah.
On YouTube. They've done it on, so Satori's
one that
dad
shows.
does Ghost Hunters as well. So they've done it on his show. But yeah, we were the ones that really kind of showcased it on YouTube. And so in the YouTube paranormal world, this was the biggest thing ever. Everybody was trying to debunk it or trying to figure out like
Yeah, I saw some where they said that you would have to give names so they could like research certain people. But Bella, because you can't look at her family history, that's why they didn't read her because they couldn't
Right.
find the information on her. But everything else they could theoretically.
exactly.
In
Memorize.
that,
Exactly.
yes. And then so that's why we went back and we tested them
Yeah.
for different theories like that. We took them to random places when we didn't tell them anything beforehand and didn't tell them any addresses and stuff. And we tested them to see if they could find out things about that location that obviously they would not know we were taking them to. And it happened over and over and over again perfectly well.
How much would they cost to book if I wanted to have them come out somewhere or just from me? Sure, like me and Macy privately.
They don't do the private readings for
No?
anybody. Like you can't like say like, hey, let me give you $1,000 and they'll do it for you. They just don't do that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And
they-
truthfully, like again, not trying to toot our own horn, but like after our videos released, like I think they like changed a lot of like I think they're not in hiding, I want to say,
Yeah.
but like they were like employees of the Conjuring house and they definitely have to, you know, back up because of that. Because
so
people
many
just
people
show
are
up
asking
to the
them
house.
to do that. They're like every person that they come in contact with is like, do it for me, do it for me, do it for me. And it's like
I bet
almost demanding.
because I'm that way where I'd like to believe it, but I'm also skeptical. And if it happened to me and I see it happen right in front, then I'd be like, oh no, that's it,
Dude, that's
Like,
one thing
I'm
that-
not going to be the one to like fall for it. Like
Right.
I'm that one, and I'm like, oh, I want to do it so badly.
That's one thing that
Yeah.
we said in our video, but just want to put that out there. If we did not see this in person, we wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
The only reason we believe this is because it happened to us over and over and over again for hours, every single day for a week. And then we went back and it happened to us again for hours and hours and hours in every test that we wanted. So like, of course people online are not going to believe this. We wouldn't either.
Yeah.
But seeing it firsthand, that's why we have such the passion for it, like Jack was explaining, where we're taking small groups and showing them and being like, wait, this is really different, because it truly is.
Yeah.
Like everything we've experienced has definitely led us to want to believe more and believe more in the paranormal. This was the first one that we felt was pretty close to confirmation.
Yeah.
Nearly just undeniable.
Yeah.
Exactly. But again, like kind of going full circle to your point.
Nearly.
What's interesting is they never ever gave us 100% proof because you're not supposed to know, in my opinion.
We had a lot of conversations with them after the fact. We became decently close with them over that week, and we talked about that a lot. Like, I don't think the entire world is supposed to have proof because that ruins the human experience. And they
It
talked
could
about
also
that a lot.
cause major conflict if you think about it. Let's say like Cody and Satori were like, Christianity is the answer. That's like everybody would
70%
like
of the
that would
world.
start a world war if they were
Yeah.
right.
And like scientists back this up, and they say we've confirmed proof from the paranormal.
World
This
War
is the
III,
way it is.
instantly.
Yeah.
Like I know that sounds dramatic, but I'm being serious. Like most,
And they would probably be
wars-
assassinated, is my guess. Yeah.
Most wars have been religious conflict. That's why they start. So like I don't think we're meant to like have the answer.
Which makes things so much more special.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have all the answers, it makes every part of life more interesting.
So I was talking to Jack about this. Who bought the Conjuring house?
It was a lady named Jacqueline Nunez. So there was a family called the Heinzens that lived there when we first went a couple times, and then
They lived in the house just
they
casually.
lived in the house, and the dad started getting like health issues living in the house. I'm not sure exactly what he had, and so they ended up moving away to deal with his health, and
They still are a big part of it.
Yeah.
They-
Okay.
like the kids like still work
Now,
there.
were the health issues to do with the house, or this is just they think, it's just like, hey, maybe old age, something happened.
I don't even
Okay.
know what he has,
Yeah, I
but
don't want to speak on his behalf.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
fair.
I mean you could say so,
Yeah.
but I don't think so.
Okay.
But yeah, then like a lady named Jacqueline Nunez like moved in, and I don't know her background really, but she was just super into like spiritualism, and knew that this house had something, or she claims that it has something very special. Like the entire property is
Yeah.
like a giant portal.
Did she buy it before the movie came out?
No. She
way
just bought it like a year and a half ago. All the movies happened like a decade ago.
But I feel like that would have to be like a really expensive sale, right?
Yeah.
Like,
We
like,
actually
it's
bought it.
we were trying to buy it.
you were actually trying to buy the house.
So-
What was the process like of like buying the Conjuring house?
Well, so we did our 2 Conjuring videos in 2021, and they were our biggest thing that ever happened to our channel. And then we, we're decently close with the family that owned it at that time, because we talked back and forth about planning these videos. And they told us, this is going up for sale, and we're like,
Dude, you
we
had to have
have
bought
to do
that.
this.
Yes.
Logistically, it did not work out. What the house was valued versus what they were asking for is just. It wasn't going to be
The
a
value
good
is-
financial.
The value is priceless for that house. Can I ask how much they were asking?
I mean,
And I'm sure we could just look it up.
yeah, it was valued at like 350,000, but
Okay.
they were asking for $1 million, I think, and it actually got sold by 1.4.
Yeah,
by
I think Jacqueline bought it for 1.4.
That makes sense. You can't look at that house as just what is a house from the 1700s valued at on this land.
Right.
Worthless, you know?
exactly.
But
It's
land
the
value.
name, the
But it's the
branding,
lore,
everything.
yeah.
But it's that. And the fact when I looked at the prices, how much they're charging every single night and how many people they
It's
can have
definitely a
come through the
business,
house.
for sure.
On a $1.4 million investment, I bet she's making her money back within about 2 years.
For sure, which is
And
like
owning a very one of the most notable houses. Besides,
for
maybe
sure.
there's that Home Alone house, the Brady Bunch house. I mean, there's
In terms
very
of like
few houses
haunted
like that.
houses, that's the most famous in the United States, for sure.
Absolutely,
Maybe in the world.
yeah.
which I think it's like smart to point out that like for all the skeptics out there, like that's a huge reason everybody's like, oh, it's a business. Like, of course they're gonna say like the woods is the most haunted and stuff, and they're just like starting
Yes,
campsites out there.
sure.
And, it's like that was a big red flag for a lot of people, which I can totally see. It's a business.
It makes sense. Like a lot of these things that people are skeptical about, which we understand.
Yeah, I think. Well, first of all, I don't know if someone would feel comfortable just moving in and living in the house.
Yeah.
I don't think
But
anybody
I'm
lives
also-
there
single family.
now. Does anybody live there?
No.
I think they have trailers outside, and that's the closest.
Yeah, I've seen they charge for like camping, like glamping outside, or you could
Yeah.
spend like a Friday there or something like that.
Yeah.
But looking at the prices, it made me very curious to want to go and experience that and
Dude,
check it out.
yeah.
You should. I don't know
definitely.
if you've ever done anything like
I've never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
I would be very curious. Now I probably get scared easily,
but
but
there'd be
seeing
one
that thought,
experience.
what an incredible experience to be able to go and like and try something new like that.
Yeah. As long as you're open minded to it, like
I am.
It's
I'm
a
extremely,
fun experience.
Yeah.
Even if, like, let's say nothing happens, you're still having this experience, learning a bunch of history, have a fun night with friends. Like, that's what I tell people all the time. A lot of stuff doesn't happen. There's many videos we've scrapped. There's some videos that just don't do nearly as, like, crazy as everything else, but it's still a good time.
Is there any experience that truly scared you?
yes, actually going back to like that first train of thought we had
Yeah.
like 10 minutes ago or whatever, the basement, we brought Cody and Satori down, right? And before this, like we had a couple days where we were just talking to basically the matriarch of the house named Abigail Arnold, who was like the family, couple families before the parents, like the Arnold estate is what it was called. Abigail Arnold, we would talk to her. She was awesome, super sweet old lady. But in the basement, there was something more like the trickster, something more like negative. I wouldn't say sinister or evil, but like something more negative for sure. Just like to play jokes on people. And the only thing, first of all, before I get into what it said, like the taps that were being made sounded different down there as well, which is also why I don't think it's like cracking of the joints. It's because like we were upstairs on wood and it would sound different, and then downstairs it was all concrete and you could hear it like it was tapping on the like concrete or whatever. So it was, you could hear the visible like the differences between both of it.
Yeah, for context on that too, like everywhere we took them, we took them a bunch of different places, you know, different floors in the house, but also on gravel,
Everywhere.
on like a wooden floor, on concrete. And they all did sound different in person.
But like what it would say is it was super vague about everything. Like, and all it would want us to do is it just said, come to the woods. Come to the woods. And we were like, why? It would be like, find out. Like, do it. I just thought that was the scariest thing.
And then we're
of
like,
all time.
where? And it was like over the bridge. Like, what? And then we're like, who do you want to come out? Didn't it say like alone?
Alone or yes, I
Something
don't
like
know.
that. I don't know. It was scary. And then over and over and over, we're like, why? It's like, find out. It's like, oh God. It's so scary.
But was there any point where you felt in danger for your life?
No, not for our lives really. But I did not want to, like off camera that night, Sam and I talked for like 4 hours and I was just like, dude, we are living in a movie right now. Like we can't go to the woods. Like, are you kidding me? Like this isn't just a YouTube video anymore. Like there was something evil in the basement that just said, or something negative in the basement that just said like, do not go to the woods. Like we can't do this.
Yeah.
But we did anyways for the content.
Are you ever nervous that being around so many spirits all of the time, you're like bringing some essence of something with you?
Yeah, that's what I'd be worried about, like some negative thing like
Like,
latching on
you know,
to you.
I've
is,
been
like,
hanging out with
following
you guys a little bit. Right? I get a little nervous about.
But isn't that
what
good for
presence
content?
is. That's true.
Well, you know what's interesting? I'm not trying to throw Sam under the bus really quick, but it's just funny as fuck. Every animal that we meet, like, hates Sam.
Dude.
Every small
Every
animal.
animal?
Like, it's just my...
Bailey liked you.
Bailey liked him a
yeah,
little
that's
bit.
Bailey likes anything now. So not to discredit Sam or
Yeah.
anything.
No, it's insane. There's so many animals that we look at, like, oh, Colby, and look at me, they're so scared. Their tails go down. It's like, oh God, what's happening? But at the end of the day, that aligns with the same questions I've had this in my entire life. If something were to attach itself to me, or I do have this weird essence, or something does happen to me, or maybe I am scared of my life, that would give me hope. So like, even if it's a negative thing, like, to be honest, if this happens, maybe I'll have a different perspective on it. But if I get levitated and thrown up against the wall, that would be the greatest day of my life. Because
That'd be insane.
yes, it would be scary, but that would 1,000% prove it to me that all this stuff is real. So I kind of want to be like, you know,
Thrown around a little bit.
you know?
Tossed
Hey,
up.
you know, don't clip that shit, but
Excuse me.
Yeah.
you know, I just think it'd be interesting.
Now, you were telling me about haunted objects a long time ago. Could you go into some detail about that? Because there are a few things that you said that really stood out to me, that some objects like carry the spirits with them. And like if you, there are stories that you've seen of like people touching certain objects and then like bad things happen to them.
Yeah. I mean, in Vegas,
Yeah,
Zach
right.
Bagans' Haunted Museum
Yeah.
is probably the biggest spot for all the haunted objects of the world, where he, like, for example, let us sit in the Devil's Rocking Chair,
And what
which
is that?
was another Conjuring movie,
Yeah.
I believe. It was like a Conjuring sequel.
The Conjuring 3 is based on this exorcism, and this specific rocking chair was there during the actual exorcism in the 1970s. But yeah, it's thought to believe that just like a place could be haunted, something could haunt an object, and that could be the vessel that it's with there. So anyway, right next to this chair, this kid named David Glatzel was thought to be possessed, and they had multiple, I think, but at least one exorcism on this guy that, you know, said to have multiple demons attached. We don't know, whatever it was. And then people said that right after the exorcism, people could see something that they coined the beast sitting in this rocking chair, this mist, whatever it was, and they were so scared of it. And then after that, no one sat in this chair for what, 30 years, 50 years now, I guess.
Even know.
And then they sold it to Zach Bagans, and he's been the only person to sit in it ever since that like whole exorcism deal. And then he let us sit in the same chair.
For the first time.
Why would you do that? Like just in case. Like why risk it?
Again, because if I died, by doing that. That would be the coolest thing in the world because it would prove to me it's all real.
But you would be dead.
But I would go to heaven.
But what if it's a negative like demon or something like that does not take you to heaven? And because you sat in that chair, like this thing attached onto you and is like pulling you down, or like bad things.
I didn't think about that one.
Or like bad things happen to you in your life because you sat in that chair and like that negativity, something that caused a little change.
Yeah, I mean, to be completely honest too, like a big reason we did it was because we were like we can't turn down this opportunity.
The concept.
But what happened when you sat in the chair?
Well, we both did the Estes method in the chair. And you had more of an intense experience than I did, but we definitely both felt like heavy, like something was almost like not letting us stand up. You were kind of like shaking and freaking out though towards the end of yours.
It was very weird. Like I've still, I think still have never had an experience like this. I sat in this chair, and I want to put it out there for all the skeptics. It could be me psyching myself out. I'll say that. If not, I sat in this chair, and all of a sudden, I was probably only sitting in this chair for a minute. My legs like felt almost immediately like I ran like a half marathon. Like I was instantly tired. They're shaking. They're almost painful, like hard. And I was like, okay, well, let me try to stand up. And it was almost like I was sore immediately. Like, why? I'm just sitting in a rocking chair, and I stood up, and it took a good couple minutes for me to feel
snap
better about everything and snap out of it. But it was genuinely like not only an emotional switch, but I could physically feel a difference in my legs after sitting in this chair. And I've never experienced anything like that before.
What was your experience?
Mine was similar but less intense. So I just kind of felt like pressure on me, like something kind of like almost not forcing me, but trying to get me to sit longer, like don't get up or whatever, like thoughts in the head that would pop up being like, it just felt heavy in my legs, like they weighed a little bit more than usual, but I was able to stand up pretty fine. And
See, I would love for you to take two random people on the street and have them sit on two chairs and just say, sit in this chair for 1 minute, sit in this chair for 1 minute. All right, what do you think? And just see if they're like,
and not tell them either way.
Don't tell them
could
either
be
chair.
placebo.
Right. And just say, did what was more comfy? What did you feel like
Curse
afterwards?
one random person.
I
for
know.
all of eternity.
But that one's haunted.
And then tell them, well, no one sat in that chair for 50 years and it's said to have demonic possession.
And they're like,
you signed the waiver.
It's like
oh yeah, no, that was one of the most unique experiences for sure. Definitely.
Is there any object that you would not touch that is maybe like
Dybbuk box or whatever that thing is? Have you guys heard about
yeah?
that?
I mean, that's in his museum as well, if we're talking about the same
Does
thing.
he have that same box?
So he has the box where, if you guys have heard the story of Post Malone getting cursed, have you?
No.
Oh, this is interesting. So Post Malone's super into the haunted stuff, and Zach Bagans invited him out to his museum, and they were doing a private tour. Zach has like a Dybbuk box room, and the only thing in it is the Dybbuk box in this glass case in the middle of the room, and they took it out of the plexiglass around it and didn't even touch it. They got near it. They freaked out for some reason. Like they either heard something or felt something. Can't remember, but they freaked out for
Zach
some reason.
touched it, but his post didn't.
Okay, Post Malone didn't. Zach did. He started freaking out. They ran out of the room. Whatever. Like for the next month or two afterwards, like Post Malone almost got in a plane crash. His house got robbed.
He got
it was like a
car
lot of different
crash.
things. Car
I think
crash.
it was at least 3 or 4 things that were like life-threatening, really intense situations. All within. I thought it was closer than that, like 1 month.
1 or 2.
2 months.
Like don't quote us on that, but
And that's
very
what it's known
recently
for,
after.
right? The Dybbuk box just gives people really bad
Yeah.
and unfortunate luck and circumstances, right?
Yeah, because basically in Jewish folklore, a Dybbuk is like a demon that got trapped into this box. So obviously, like, don't open the box because the demon will be released. But obviously, people make a million Dybbuk boxes. Like, you can buy them on eBay and stuff if you want.
Right.
So
But that one is the real one.
that's a real one.
It's the most famous one.
Yeah.
Why don't you go and touch it and then document what happens afterwards? Would you do it?
Zach Bagans.
I was gonna say next video.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, is that the
That'd be
line?
awesome.
Is that too far? It's like you do anything except for touching the Dybbuk box. You don't want to die. Like that's too far because then that could also
Take a
be
bath with the Dybbuk box. Let's go.
because but no. Here's the thing: if
Hey,
if something were to happen, you couldn't say that was 100% the Dybbuk box.
That's
then
what-
it could be well, maybe there's a chance something happened. That would have happened, regardless of whether or not you touched the box. We don't know 100%, but
That
it's
would be
kind
a
of
good idea. Like I spent 30 days with a Dybbuk box or something like that. That would be a
yeah. That Mr. Ballin episode that I heard on that freaked me out. It
Me
made
too.
It made me like really believe
Yeah.
in the whole concept of that.
Yeah.
If you did that and just like lived with this thing for a week or a month next to your bed, and you just wake up every morning, but that's what
sharing the
happened.
sheets with it. That would be pretty crazy.
Hell week idea. Let's
That
go.
we got or he sleeps with Annabelle every single night. I'll just film him.
my god.
Oh my god.
Who's Annabelle?
Annabelle, so the Warrens, back to Ed and Lorraine Warren, have
Yeah.
their own museum. We're supposed to be going, hopefully, sometime this year. But if you've seen the Annabelle movies, there's a real Annabelle doll that, like, all of that's based on. We've never been, so we haven't researched it at all.
Alleged the most haunted doll in the world.
In the world. Yeah. And so that's the one doll that we haven't really, like, seen yet that we need to. And it's in plexiglass as well in this, like, museum.
And once a day, they have a priest come over and bless it because they're so scared of what it could do to people.
Really?
What's scary about all these haunted objects and just haunted places in general is like Sam and I had like one of the toughest years of our entire lives, like this past in 2023. And like you can't just like say all the negative things that happened to us is because of the haunted stuff. But then a part of you, like there's like a little fraction that like thinks like, what if it is?
Now, are we talking about maybe the cancer diagnosis?
Yeah, because
Yeah.
so this is what's crazy is so I know it's not Robert the doll. We went to a place in Florida where if you take pictures of this doll, it literally says it gives you cancer. And we did that. And then I got cancer that month or the next month.
Yeah.
But
What are the chances
That's what I'm saying.
of that?
That's what I'm
I have to
saying.
say, like, I am very superstitious on certain things, and like, if I have a negative thought, I gotta, knock on wood just in case. I like to, release that out there.
Yeah.
What are the chances that did you take a picture with it too, or
Yeah.
you both? Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's not it, but like
Yeah.
also, what are the odds? You know?
Yeah.
It's
But
like
the reason I
Okay.
know it's not
Yeah.
Robert, I hope, is like I felt a little bit of pain like before going to that trip.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean like any other haunted place. Like there's so many stories of, diseases being caused by like paranormal and stuff like that. And like I don't believe it, but it just makes you
See, that would be my biggest fear is like investigating something like this, picking up something negative, and all of a sudden it's destroying my life. But you
Yeah.
can't point to that. You can't say, well,
Right.
definitively it was that.
Exactly.
But my life fell apart. All of a sudden I found these vices, and my, everything kind of went down.
Yeah.
You can't pin it on that.
Exactly.
But it's like, again, what are the chances?
Right. It's everything in paranormal is like coincidence. Or like people stock it up to like coincidence and stuff. So
that's
it's
what
like,
makes it so interesting.
scary.
You can't ever pinpoint one specific thing as the ultimate reason or confirmation, and that's what makes you be able to keep going.
And also I think I would go insane if I was just like Robert the doll gave me cancer. Like I would
Really?
obviously want to like quit doing haunted in
How
general.
many people take pictures of that doll?
Probably a lot.
Probably
actually.
a lot, but
Yeah.
there are 10,000 letters, handwritten letters, saying "I'm sorry" to Robert the doll because of bad instances that happen after people take pictures.
I would love to know how many people take pictures versus how many of them get diagnosed with cancer within a 5-year period, and compare that to the normal statistics.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, if 100,000 people take a picture with this thing, and the normal statistics might be like 1 in 30 or 1 in 20. I want to see if that skews the results.
That would be actually
You
a
know?
great experiment.
That'd be really
I don't know how
interesting.
many
bet
people
that-
would participate. That's
everybody's like,
someone's
I
gonna
don't
get
wanna
sued
do
on that one.
Yeah. Someone out there do it, not us.
Yeah. So what happened in terms of your cancer diagnosis? Like
Yeah.
what was some of the first symptoms you felt?
Well, it was just like I didn't think it was anything serious at first.
Really?
What's really scary is so it's coming up on a year now. I got diagnosed on January 25th in 2023.
Wow.
So like 2 weeks away from
That's
now. We're filming
crazy.
this in mid-January,
Yeah.
2024. But yeah, what's really scary, and not to freak out all the young kings watching this or anything, but like, first of all, it's a young men's cancer. Like people from 20 to like 35 tend to get this. But it really wasn't that bad. Like it wasn't that painful. And that's what's scary about it. Every dude has been like nutted before, like where you just kind of feel like you have like a bruised ball for a second, but it goes away for in a couple days. My bruise just like didn't go away. The thing that I am telling guys like that gives them peace of mind though is that 2 weeks before I went and got diagnosed, I could tell something was wrong. It started changing in like appearance and size to TMI.
Yeah, sure.
And then like whenever I would like work out really hard or if I'd have sex or masturbate or whatever, it would like swell up and stuff. So I knew something was wrong, obviously.
And you caught it early. So you
That's
felt,
so
you felt that
important.
pain and you still caught it stage 1.
Yeah,
So
stage 1.
And
I got misdiagnosed too.
yeah.
Yeah.
What
so
was that like?
It was, I mean, I don't blame the doctor at all, but it was a Vegas doctor out here, and he said I had something called like acute epididymitis, which is just like inflammation down there. And then he also, which didn't make any sense because I was celibate at the time, he also was just like, oh, you might have like an STD. Let's give you like a gonorrhea shot just to be safe. And I was like, oh, like that wouldn't make any sense, but all right. So they thought it was that. Gave me the shot in like my ass for like gonorrhea. Obviously it wasn't that. And he was just like, just be safe and go get an ultrasound in the next month. He was just like, you don't have to do it anytime soon. Just go in the next month. But I decided to proactively like do it the next morning and just get it over with. Especially because I think we were traveling in the next couple weeks as well. So I was like, let me just get it over with and be safe. Went the next morning, and then 5 hours later, like I missed the call because we were in a meeting, but I was kind of like reading the voicemail transcript where it was like, hey, this is your doctor, call me back as soon as possible. And I was like, that can't be good.
That's not good.
Like what doctor says that? And so called him back, of course, and he was just like, hey, so don't freak out, but the results from the ultrasound, like it's like 95% cancerous. He was like, it might not be like I forgot the word, benign or something. I think benign. Like it could be like a tumor where it's not cancerous or something.
Yeah.
But you do have a tumor.
But you do have a tumor.
Yeah.
And so he was just like, why don't you just come to the doctor's office right away? And so I didn't even, Sam was still in the meeting. And so I just didn't even like tell Sam. I like left and called him on my way there and told him to like wrap up the meeting. And then he came and drove and met me at the doctor's office. And the doctor was very like nice about it and very reassuring. It was just like, hey man, like usually like 95% of people, they just have to get surgery and they're good. That's it. Like that's all you need. So he was just like, if you get this out as soon as possible, you should be fine.
What they say about the, survival rate, isn't testicular cancer like 97,
97%. Yeah. The only like reason people like die from it is if it metastasizes and like goes like everywhere in the body.
Yeah.
So like, for example, the most famous case that a lot of people know is Lance Armstrong.
Totally.
Had testicular cancer when he was my age. So I got it when I was 25, like about to be 26. He was 25 as well, I believe. But his spread to his lungs and his brain.
Yikes.
And he had to get like, I don't even know. I'm going to say this wrong, but he had to get like months of chemo, I believe. Like where for me, based on like the certain type of cancer I had, is basically, so they had to take it out in order to do like a pathology report on it and figure out what exactly was going on and what type of like cancer I had. And then they were able to kind of give me a percentage of recurrence of like, okay, for me specifically, it was like 35%. Like you have a 35% chance if you do nothing right now that it's going to come back. And I was like, like that's a third. Like I got 2/3 of a chance. I'm going to be chilling. But then I was like telling all my friends and family that, and they were just like, dude, like 35%, that's
high.
like a lot. And so he was just like, but if you do one round of chemo, which was 21 days, then I could get that 35% number down to like 2%. And so initially I was like against it. I didn't want to do chemo. Chemo is like a self-destruct button in your body.
Yeah.
You lose everything. Like it kills all like the fast-growing cells. Like tumors. Tumors are like the fastest growing cells, cancer. And so like you lose your hair, of course, like you lose everything.
Yeah. Could they not have done like radiation or anything like that?
That wasn't an
or?
option for me for some reason.
Okay.
They didn't even bring it up. I'm not sure why.
Okay, that's fair.
I also learned that there's like dozens of chemo drugs for different cancers. So like each person's scenario is going to be different than somebody else's. And so, yeah, after talking to my parents and calling all my friends and just really giving it some thought, I was just like, well, like we were stocked up at videos at the time. I was just like, let me just do this. If I lose all my hair, fuck it. Like it's better than having like cancer coming back or whatever.
Totally.
Like who cares? That'll grow back. And so I just decided to do it. And it was 21 days and like.
What was that like for you to go through?
It was easy while going through it, but like looking back on it, it's like the trauma like came later. Like in the year. And I wouldn't say like I'm like really struggling with like trauma or anything, but like definitely knowing that a year ago I had it, it's like I've been thinking of cancer like a lot this year.
Yeah.
And so I think I had some like hidden trauma that
Probably.
Well,
like,
I mean,
Probably
was
tune a
created.
lot of it out. What was it like for you to support a friend through this?
it was definitely a big eye opener for sure. Even from the moment I got that call, it was kind of like everything was put into perspective.
Yeah.
What matters, what doesn't, like what are we actually going to be, focusing on in the future and stuff. It made us definitely reevaluate health and like our friendship. And I think since then we've probably been the closest we've ever been.
Yeah, I know. I think so. I think it like the silver lining of it is all the relationships in my life, like especially ours, like got a lot closer because it's like I was calling my parents every single week, and before then I would call them maybe once every like 3 months, 4 months. Like we have a great relationship, but we just never communicate that often. But like there were so many people in my life that I like reached out to and like for support. I even remember like talking to you a little bit about it like last year, but it just like brought me closer to everybody, and it's kind of like a slap in the face of like, hey man, like you're not invincible. But again, like my main things is like I was just like, when I first found out, I was like, am I gonna die? Can I have kids? Like those were my
Yeah,
my
I
main
was going to
questions.
ask about kids. Do you take a proactive measure and like freeze sperm or something like this, like, just in case?
So before chemotherapy, they make anybody, I just learned this as well,
Yeah.
but they make anybody who does chemo, they recommend males to freeze their sperm.
I didn't know that.
Because chemo attacks like,
Right.
especially the chemo that I was having was
Right.
attacking like down there. And so there is a tiny, it's like 5%, 10% sort of a thing that like you, like your sperm just
sterile,
dies.
yeah.
Yeah, you just go sterile. And so I ended up freezing like my sperm out here just to be safe. And like that was like probably the hardest like decision, is just being like,
It makes it kind of real. It's like, hey, this is that 5% chance right there.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And like doctors have to be so honest, of course, with
yeah.
you. And so like hearing like I was doing like the possibility of chemo right after surgery, I was like, there's no way I'm doing chemo. There's no way. But then of course, like once that 35% like stuck with me every single day, I was just like, like I might as well just, everybody in my life was telling me to do it. And I was just like, all right, I should probably just do it.
Also, didn't you get some report back that after chemo it was actually attacking something, so it made you realize that you did make the right decision? Like,
No, so what was scary, and this is getting kind of like into medical terms or whatever, but I'll keep it as like simple as possible because it's confusing. But basically, like there's this tumor marker in your blood called AFP that like spikes up specifically for like specific cancers, like I think it's ovarian and testicular. And so my AFP spiked up like halfway through my chemo. And so what was really hard is my doctors in Vegas who did the chemo, I did the chemo with, said, this spiked up like during your first cycle. We think you should do like another cycle just to be safe. We haven't seen it like spike up like this. And so I was like, wait, but like I just went through this like one cycle. I shouldn't have to like do this again. So I went and got another opinions at UCLA and then Cedars Sinai.
Cedars Sinai.
Sinai. And they both, and no offense to Vegas doctors out here, but like California's way more qualified, just honest. They both said like, oh no, like you're fine. You don't need chemo. And so, or any more chemo. And so I ended up just taking their advice and being like, all right, 2 doctors said I don't need it. 1 Vegas doctor said like you should do
2
it.
to 1.
2 to 1.
Yeah.
But then again, like that still is not everybody saying like, oh yeah, you're fine.
I know.
And so that little like door being open of like the possibility of, you know, one doctor was just like, I think you should, cause like so much more anxiety like in the future.
and you still have to deal with that because of all the tests you're taking.
Yeah, like I mean,
today.
2 days ago, like I did a CT scan, and like I have a blood test tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning.
Wow. So what's like the maintenance on something like that? How often do you have to go in and retest?
So it was different last year than it is now, obviously. Right after I got diagnosed, I pretty much got poked getting like my blood test every single week for 5 months at least. But it was only recently, I think, around like September when they said like, okay, it's like you're still like normal in normal levels. We're gonna like push it out to 3 months. You'll get checked. So the last time I've gotten a CT scan and blood work was in September. And so that's why like early January, like I'm getting it again. It's been 3 months. And so that's why I've been kind of like anxious this week and like stressed out because like even though my recurrence level is literally 2%. And so like, obviously I have 98% chance that I'm fine, but it's still weird how I feel like anxious about it.
You know, it's so funny. Even for me, the 1% things screw with my mind all the time.
Yeah.
It's a 1% chance. That's all I think about.
Exactly.
And I worry about that 1%. Even though it's unlikely to happen, I spend most of my mental energy on that 1%.
Exactly. And I think that's human nature too, to like just focus on that stuff.
Worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I've been reading that book, John Deloney's book on anxiety, and he says that 1% is wired in your brain to help keep you alive. Because if you didn't have that 1% worry, think of all the times that 1% happens. You know, over 100, 200 times, that 1% will happen on something.
Yeah.
And if you didn't pay attention to that, it could kill you.
Yeah.
So our minds are wired to focus on that 1% just to keep you alive.
Definitely.
'Cause
I
you
know that's a
never
good
know.
point. That's a good point.
So what did this whole experience teach you about life in general? I mean, that's a lot to go through as like a 25, 26-year-old.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it made me grateful more than anything for like just everything, like friends and health specifically, of course. And it was again, silver lining to it. I wouldn't call it a blessing in disguise because getting cancer is not a blessing at all. But it really did teach me in other facets of life, like to really focus on like specifically health. So for example, like I slowed down on like drinking a lot, and like I'm going on hikes like every single day and stuff like that. Like it really, and now that I'm doing like these blood tests every once in a while, like I'm checking for other things in my body that I've never even like learned about or knew about, that like kind of gives me more of like a feeling of security of like everything is okay. But yeah, I mean, just overall, like I know this is gonna sound crazy, but, and I've said this before, but I'm not happy that I have cancer, of course, but I'm glad that if it had to happen, it would happen to somebody like me, because like there was so much more positives that happened than negatives. Like, yes, I had to sacrifice my left nut, RIP soldier or whatever, but like, like literally we raised like hundreds of thousands of
I was
dollars
about to say,
to like cancer funds.
I mean, the reach that you have, and just imagine how many, I think 8 million people saw that video.
Yep.
Imagine how many people, because of that, got something checked
checked or
out.
something.
Because they saw you do that and said, oh, you know
Exactly.
what, maybe, you know, it wasn't anything. Let me just check this out just in case. I mean,
Right.
when you look at a numbers game like that, out of 8
Could've
million
saved
people,
lives.
Yeah.
out of
no,
8
for
million
sure.
people, at least one of them probably did something proactive that would have prevented something or caught something early enough because
Exactly.
you came so publicly with that video.
Yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. But
Yeah.
it's been super cool seeing like random emails from like, I want to be like a spokesperson to guys, because I feel like a lot of dudes will be very insecure or scared to talk about a cancer like down there or whatever. But I want to be like a social media guy who is not afraid to be like, yeah, no, that happened to me, and like I'm thriving still.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing for guys like out there, to, if you're going through the same situation, is nothing's changed. It's like no libido
cool.
changes, like no testosterone
Yeah, I
changes.
heard you on Joe Rogan say that the other testicle compensates and makes up, which I think is
Yes.
insane. That the body could do that. So you've
Right.
noticed like no difference in terms of like.
Zero
And,
difference. So
I'm curious, do they just replace it with like a fake one?
I had the option to do that. So they said I could get like a silicone ball.
Yeah.
The only reason I didn't do it is because I was doing a bunch of research where like sometimes the body will reject silicone any time in life. So I didn't want to have like the anxiety of like being like 40, 50, whatever one day, and like being like, is this the year that like my body decides to reject my fake nut? Like, I don't think so. So I just, I'm rocking one
Don't
bar
they?
now.
Isn't that the case with
Just a
people
rock
get
and roll
boob jobs where you have to either like take a medication or something to? I don't know if that's for life. I'm not. I don't know.
It's gotta be.
But I thought there's
know.
something where it's like
Something
it's
like
not meant
that.
to be a permanent thing. You're usually supposed to replace them every like 15 years.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think, yeah, you have to replace it every, I don't know, 7 to 10 years. I'm not sure, but it's anything, any foreign object in the human body.
Yeah,
You
Like,
just
right.
don't want to take that risk after going through all.
Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
because
blame
like
you.
the whole thing is like, I just want my anxiety to go away about it. And so like, I wouldn't want to give myself more anxiety by just like getting like a fake ball in there and being like,
Yeah.
all right, well now is like my body gonna reject it? Like shit.
Yeah. Now, what happened to the nut that they took out? Did you get to keep that?
So they give it to you in like a Christmas ornament and like
And so it's on our tree right now.
You're joking.
literally
I would
right
love
now.
that.
You're joking.
No, and like they put a plaque that says Colby Brock's left nut.
Are you serious? Well, I feel like you're kidding. Yeah, I see that smile on your face. You're,
No, they have to.
they just toss
Yeah.
it.
They just.
I don't know what they
incinerate
do
it or
with
some
it.
Can
shit.
you ask for it? Like, I feel like I've seen people with like
Dude,
get
okay,
teeth
I was
removed
out-
be like, I want the
I was
teeth.
outside the operating room, and the doctor came up and was like,
Do you want it?
"Do you want to see a nut?" And I was like,
It's a weird question.
Did you say yes?
I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "I probably shouldn't." And I was like,
He can't lead you
I've
on
never
like
heard of
that.
this
No.
story.
come
Yeah, what
on.
the fuck?
It's like,
did
of
not
course
know
I
this.
want to see Colby's balls. I mean, his extracted nut.
Man, oh my god.
So he never showed it. He backpedaled
never
on
heard
that.
that
story.
He
I love how
expected
you
to say
jumped
no.
on it. And you're like, yeah.
I was like,
let's
I
see
mean,
it.
this is a once in a lifetime
Yeah.
chance, you know? He said he used to be able to do it, but not anymore.
Okay. How do you guys maintain your friendship? Like through that 10, 15 years, however long it's been, have you ever gotten in a fight that's like maybe threatened to tear you guys apart?
think so.
Not to the point that we actually were going to. There was definitely rocky points, especially at the beginning. So we were obviously like friends, and then we became business partners. And then especially when we moved out, we were roommates, friends, and business partners.
At 18.
At 18. And my livelihood depended on him and vice versa. That's very difficult on a friendship for sure.
And we also were just like struggling on YouTube and what we wanted to do. And so like each week we would have to come up with different ideas, and I'd pitch something that maybe he didn't like versus like
Creative
vice versa.
differences.
And so like we have never ever really like yelled at each other before, like have gotten like a screaming match. We've never ever like hit each other ever. Like usually we've always worked things out very maturely, and we'll just like be completely honest, being like, hey man, like I didn't like this, let's talk about it. And I didn't like this, let's talk about it. And then like we'll resolve it and figure it out very like civilly. But like
It's hard though.
It's
I like just putting it out there. I probably would not suggest going into business with your best friend or your spouse. Like I just wouldn't suggest it.
it ruins 90% of friendships.
We
for sure.
are definitely an anomaly, but and we started that at the very beginning of like honestly like the friendship should always come first over business, over anything that's happening. So let's communicate. We had a lot of talks about all this stuff, and over time we've gotten to a point where I just understand how he works and vice versa, and so we know when something's going wrong. We know when we're not at the same level, and we sit down and we really talk about it, because at the end of the day, if our friendship isn't there, our whole business isn't there.
And how do you handle a disagreement where neither one of you wants to budge on a topic? Do you just not do it, or is it about like a convincing thing, or does one of you have like a little more of a lead than the other?
I think what's interesting is like when it comes to business stuff that we disagree on, we're both very, very logical people. And so no matter who's right, me or Sam, in the past, we'll always just like put emotions away, put every fact on the table and be like, what is actually best step? It doesn't matter who came up with like the steps, but like what's like the best plan of action here? And like, again, it's just like a lot of like trust, and like there's so many times where like, for example, like random merch ideas, like designs where if I like really love a design, but then Sam like doesn't like it at all, I would just be like, okay, well then let's scrap it, because like we both don't like it, even if I really like it.
And it's helped too. When we first started, it was mostly just us. We sometimes had managers or whatever, but nowadays we have a little bit bigger of a team. And so if we do have a disagreement, we'll bring it out to everybody, and it's more so like a collective experience. So we're like, okay, let's all decide on it, get pros, cons, let's figure it all out.
It was just like he said, like very hard in the beginning when we like didn't know what we were doing. We didn't have a team. We like saw each other we still see each other every single day. But like back then, when under stressful scenarios, plus like not having a lot of money back then,
Honestly, like,
it's hard.
I'll say this. I'm sure this is very, very true with a marriage as well, but I noticed a dramatic difference in our relationship after financial freedom. Like when we were not worried about that month's rent and the bills, and like let's say one thing went wrong and it wasn't going to ruin our chances of staying in Los Angeles or not, that huge stress reliever was a big part of our relationship change. And I think that's probably with like everybody's relationship, families and marriages and everything like that. Like money is such a big deal.
Yeah.
And so like when things were starting to go right, it was like a lot less stress on us for sure.
Yeah, and just maturing and stuff. Like
so,
as we've
yeah.
gotten older, again, we just like learned more about how each like we work or whatever. And so I think it's all communication. As cliche and corny as that sounds, it's like communication is key. If you're upset about something, say it, but also consider how you say it to somebody. Don't be like, you just fucked up everything. dude.
I love
Fuck
doing
you."
that. See, that's my fault.
That's the Graham approach.
Really?
Oh my god, I could go on.
See
and
how
on.
that
I
works
shouldn't.
out
I
for you in the
shouldn't.
long run.
That is, yeah.
No, we're very, very like considerate of each other's feelings.
I'm working. Listen, I'm working.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He's
I'm
doing a good
working
job.
on it.
Who spends more money between you two? Who's got the expensive taste?
It's decently even because most of the stuff that we spend money on, we
Work-related?
do it together with like vacations or
Right,
like
let's say
work-related.
outside of that.
Outside of work thing, I think probably you.
Yeah, well, it's okay. So it's interesting because yes, I probably spend more money on like clothes and stuff like that. But I still have the same car from high school. So
Yeah, I
like,
know
you
the
gotta
Toyota
think
car, right?
he spent
Yeah.
maybe less, like on less items, but on more expensive items. Like he's gotten Tesla upgrades or whatever. I still drive a 2007 Corolla.
See, that's what I actually really admired about you guys. Because obviously, you guys completely different level than me. But when for the longest time, I was driving a nearly, actually, yeah, a 20-year-old car, super old, and you guys show up, and you're driving what was like a 15-year-old, maybe 20-year-old Toyota Corolla.
Yeah, 2007.
Which is the coolest thing ever. I really
Yeah,
respected the
Thank you.
frugality that you guys have. It's like still playing it smart. Even playing pickleball with Sam, like he didn't get pickleball shoes for a super long time, which I wouldn't consider super smart because there's no ankle support, but he would still use just like standard trainers.
Yeah.
You know?
You shouldn't be talking about ankle support, Jack.
I know. Yeah, you guys, did you see the incident?
I saw it on Instagram. I don't know what happened. Though.
Yeah, I just basically hurt my ankle. I'll show up some photos for you guys to see right
Dang,
now.
He sent a picture to me in the hospital. It's just this gnarly
It's
black.
disgusting.
and
Really
disgusting
gross. Yeah,
lump.
I'll show it to you after if you want to
Yeah,
see
it's
it.
really
So,
appetizing.
but I'm curious, why not upgrade your car?
I've been looking into like some recently, just like maybe or whatever, and I know like I want to get like a I'm blanking energy car,
Electric
An
car?
EV?
Electric
though.
An energy
See, I
car,
don't know cars.
Yeah.
But I'm just not a car guy. Like I would rather like put
yeah.
my money into like mortgages. And
I get
stuff.
that. I think
But
the
safety,
upgrades,
too.
yeah, I think the
Yes.
upgrades from 2007 through today are substantial. I mean, just
Yeah.
like the comfort. I think the big one is audio. Sounds a lot better if
True.
you listen to music or podcasts. Audio in a car.
Yeah.
I will say,
Navigation is a
like,
pretty big one.
Going from my old car to the Tesla was a genuinely life booster. Not
Yeah,
just like
yeah.
flex on a car or whatever. A lot of people don't even see my car, but just my day-to-day life is happier when I'm like driving
So-
on autopilot, listen to my things, and my phone automatically connects. I don't have to worry about my keys.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of like things that make my life easier because of this car.
That's
and that's
true.
why I did
That's
Do
it.
you have
true.
aux in your car?
No,
I
dude.
don't like.
No,
I have,
how do you listen to music?
I listen to the radio in
I would
Vegas.
I would sell you
yeah.
my Tesla.
Oh, we might want to
Yeah.
make a deal real quick.
Maybe we can make a deal.
Wait.
Listen, it's a one of
gonna
a
be over
it's okay.
MSRP.
So it's different, you know.
Doing
the-
a deal with
Stefan
Graham
original.
is
yeah,
never
the,
enough.
the estimated value. You know, there's the value, but then there's the value.
Graham
You know,
Stefan
it's like that.
value,
It's
right?
like
Okay.
the house. It's like the house. There's like it's appraised value, but its real value is a lot higher.
Right.
You know.
So you when you travel between LA and Vegas, like you're just listening to the radio the whole time?
So I have a Bluetooth thing that does hook up to my phone.
Oh, is it an FM moderator or whatever?
Yeah.
Like you
Yes.
push in and
Yes.
you create your own station?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I was using too.
Dude,
It's like
Okay.
an
Oh my
OG
The sound is
weird
like
retro
a
stuff.
quarter
And
of
you
what
have
it
to know,
would be with
the thing
Bluetooth.
is
Oh
when
my
you
God.
travel
So
to different
horrible.
cities,
Yeah.
you have
So
to
bad.
constantly be changing the station you're
Oh, yeah.
projecting
It's
or you're
87.7.
transmitting.
That's why I don't
whatever
use
it
it in
is.
Vegas. Like, it doesn't work in Vegas for some
Yeah.
reason.
You know what
Yeah.
I did with the Volvo? For a long time, I drove the 2006 Volvo S60, but I put in AirPods.
Oh.
Ah,
Isn't that
dangerous.
illegal?
Yeah,
I
it's
would
dangerous.
do the same
Yeah.
thing when
I'm
driving
not
through LA. but
blasting
it's-
Slipknot, but it's
Right.
like, you know, it's
Can't you get
low
pulled
enough.
over for that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
illegal.
I've never gotten pulled over for that. And the windows are tinted, so you'd really have to be like looking over and trying to see
illegal.
this.
Let's go.
Yeah, that's also illegal. I could get pulled over for that too.
Graham's about to get arrested like us. Let's
Yeah. I think one day I will, but I just there's no like desire to. I'm not like, let me get a new car.
To be honest, I would say maybe up until like this last year-ish, we've been extraordinarily frugal people throughout everything.
Intentionally or just subconsciously?
Very-
Like you're just naturally not going to spend money on things?
Naturally.
Or is it like intentional? Like I should save money here.
I mean,
should-
both. I think it's just like wired that way that we're probably just not going to spend in general, but we're also like where can we save on this? Like, what's the best deal for this? Like, let's put our money here instead of put our money there. Like, we're definitely intentional about our finances.
Do you guys like invest in the same things? Or you have like kind of not joint accounts, but like, oh, I'm going to make my Roth IRA over here. I'm going to make my IRA over here. And like, we can buy the same things.
Yeah,
You guys do that?
transparently, we have
Yeah.
a business manager who handles
Okay.
all of our finances.
Sure.
And so, like, when it comes to like SEP IRAs, like
Yeah.
Roth IRAs, it's all the same accounts under the same.
We have
company?
all the same financial managers, so
Yeah, okay,
pretty
makes
much we're
sense.
invested in the same stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
But like or maybe personally speaking, actually, like I've been into investing very early, like
Cool.
in life too. Like, I'm saying like where you can't even invest at this age. Like I'm talking, I would be in like middle school and like. Like my mom would like teach me, or like my parents would teach me. They'd be like, "All right, if you mow like the lawn, you'll get $20 or whatever. Like you should like save this for this many months, so that when we go to the trip, like in 6 months or whatever, you'll have this amount. Whatever." She was always just teaching me like at a very very young age to
Budgeting
save
and
money.
And
financial
now
literacy.
it's just ingrained in your mind to do
And
that.
I never got an allowance, so like I've always worked for my money, and I think that was a huge help when I was growing up.
What do you think about this recent trend of creators quitting?
I think it's interesting because YouTube's so new that we haven't really gone through like a generation, and so we are finally seeing people move on or quit or retire or just say like, I've had enough, or I've reached financial freedom, peace out, I don't need to do this. And it's really really interesting because at the very beginning of social media, you only had like this one generation of people doing it. Now much older people are doing it. People are doing it throughout their families and older life. So I think we're gonna see a lot more of it, actually. Like
For sure.
lot more people are retiring.
Or
like moving
it's either
on.
there's going to be people that like quit completely, like Matt Pack. That's his name.
Matt Pat.
I'm so
Tom
sorry.
Scott.
I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah,
Tom
Tom Scott.
Scott.
Yeah, he was a big one.
Or
But
there's
he's
going
been
to
saying
be
it for a long time.
like people like PewDiePie who like technically quit,
Right.
like
Take
he's
a back seat.
retired, but like he still posts like once a month and like shows his kid, and he lives in Japan now and stuff. So
it's
like
incredible.
yeah, so I feel like most YouTubers I could see are probably just gonna like take a step back and
You
not
guys ever
completely
thought
quit.
about that?
I have all the time. I've been saying this to Jack. So initially,
I'm not there yet. Not even
Okay.
close.
You're like, don't retire yet. I need this.
No,
Let's go.
no, the podcast doesn't count. My initial plan was 2019. I was so burnt out, and I thought I was going to stop January of 2020. And when I mean stop, I was posting 3 videos a week. I had done that since late 2016,
That's insane.
and 3 videos a week for 3 years. And I thought I'm going to stop in 2020 because I was just purely burnt out. And I thought maybe I'm going to post every now and then. And then I got to December and I said, you know what? I still got like a little more energy in me. Let me just go through April because that's my birthday. If I could just make it to April, then I'm fine. COVID happened. Everything changed in March of 2020 with the shutdowns. All of a sudden, it was finance. Everyone was at home. And that was the point. I'd not really gone full-time on YouTube until then. Because I was still working as a real estate agent, still posting 3 videos a week. And I think the combination of the two just like fried my brain. So COVID happened, and I'm like, oh man, I got to double down on this now. And I got this new wave of energy because there's so much more to talk about. Like I had been talked out of topics, but COVID happened, and all of a sudden every day was something new happening. And there's something new for me to talk about. I got so immersed in it. Jack joined the team shortly after that, and we were churning out 3 videos a week. And then I think it was 2021 or 2022. So it was like 2 years afterwards. I told Jack, hey man, I'm going to go from 3 videos a week, maybe down to 1. Maybe down to 1. And it was always December. And then it was December through April. And I always push it. And then in April, it's like, well, I may as well just make it through the rest of the year. And then make it an even year. I could stop when I started. And then now, this year, I've just, really for the last few months, I've gone from 3 videos to 1 video a week.
Yeah.
How does that feel
It's been
now?
amazing. It's been, I still unfortunately have the same like stress level as I did before, posting 3 videos a week, posting 1. And the 1 video still takes me, I feel like as much time as I was spending for 3 videos a week.
yeah.
But I found the performance of the 1 video a week has exceeded that of 3 videos a week. So all of my videos now are doing better because I'm posting less. So now it's kind of reinforced. 1 video a week is pretty good. But then I also like the idea of kind of going out at a high. Like I don't like the idea of like you watch your views decline and decline and decline, and then it's like, all right, finally let me throw in the towel because it's not working. I like the idea, like what Matt said, is like we're going out at the top. I want to be able to control this, and I feel like you have more power to say, hey, this is the best it's been. Our views have exceeded what we've ever done, and this is the point to call it quits. I think there's something really powerful in that of like taking charge, and you're the one in control of that. But for me, the podcast, I see that having like at least another 10 years.
Oh, for sure.
No, we've talked about that a lot, at least like this year, seeing other people do that. It's like, we don't want to be those YouTubers that like, okay, let's say right now, get a couple million views. We don't want to be those people that are scraping by at 10K views just because we need to turn out a video. We definitely would want to, if we start to see like a decline, or more so if we start to have a decline in passion, would be.
I think that's the real thing, because if you're obsessed with it, even if it get 1 million views versus 10, like if you're just so enthralled with everything you do, I don't think it really matters. But if that you lose that passion, and maybe people sense it, and because of that, the views slowly decline, and then it's like this negative reinforcing thing where it's like we feel less good about it, and it's getting less views, which makes us feel less good about it, and gets us less views, and then it's just like self-perpetuating after that.
Yeah.
It is an interesting concept of this whole like, you know, you still feel as stressed one video versus 3. We went from posting every single week to then we did like series content where we'd post like every week for a month and then take a month off. Every week for a month, take a month off. Then we'd posted just every other week for a year, and now we post once a month. But in all of those changes, I don't think the stress level has changed all that much, because we'll just put more effort into that one video, or we'll just fill our time with other things. That's something we've talked about a lot this last year and a half, because we were very, very afraid of burnout about a year and a half ago. And we're just like, I don't think this is sustainable at this amount of pressure and work for very much longer. So that's why we changed a lot this last year. We're just going down to like one video a month.
Yeah, we didn't. I don't know. I'm curious if you guys like your schedule or whatever, but truthfully, like until now, we have never had weekends free ever.
Work every single day for like 10
every
years.
single day. There was, and not saying like we would do a 9 to 5 on Saturday and Sunday, but we would definitely have to work and do a bunch of little things for sure, like on the weekends. For years, like a decade pretty much.
Which doesn't mean it wasn't fun. We love our work, and there's like a lot of really good things about our work. Or maybe our work was we were on a filming trip, and so we were like, you know, doing videos, which are much more fun than sitting at a desk. But there's a lot of times on the weekends, like we wouldn't see anybody, and we just edit like all the time and stuff. So it's just gotten to a point where we're like, all right, if we want to do this a long time, and we want to keep the passion up, we got to figure this out to where we have some free time, we balance social life, because that was the real painful part of the last like 2 years, was social life, and just feeling like you had a connection with other people was declining. And we were like, that's just because we're not around. Like, how are you supposed to have a relationship with somebody if you're just not around?
It was interesting because our like YouTube career and like every other business that we were doing was like skyrocketing, and we were getting like the best numbers ever or whatever, but we had like no social life. Like we were just like, we were kind of sad, like being like sitting at home, like obviously in Vegas, like we were talking to you, and we have like the Project Fear guys, you met them or whatever, like we have a couple friend groups out here, but you guys are super busy as well. And so there was a lot of times where we were just kind of like, is it like, what is the point to be like working this hard and not like reaping any of the social rewards from it, you know?
So I heard a quote. It's like, we work so hard to get money for then money to be used on all the things we can't buy. So it's like, essentially we're working so hard to get all the things that we can't buy, which is really interesting. And I want to know what your guys' plan is for 2024, because I know this last year you guys had the most success you've ever had. You guys have had your own personal struggles, harder than anything else possibly that you've encountered in your life. How are you going to change 2024? And like, are you going to continue to be okay to sacrifice personal time, enjoyment, vacations, trips, etc., for the business? Or how are you going to draw that line? And is this like conversations that you guys are actively having?
Yeah. So we, shout out Kong again. Kong helps us out a lot on our team. And we are trying to, in 2024, making it a thing where we at least have Saturdays off.
Yeah, and we've scheduled a couple of vacations already in there. And honestly, like out of all the goals that we've had, like our number one goal is just to have a happier outside of work life this year. Because like we have gotten our systems down for like our work life and our content, and we have a lot of fun doing it. But the way that we're gonna have longevity in the content world is if we have more happiness outside of it. And so that's honestly like our main goal. It's like, how do we do the same work and maybe add on one vacation day to a trip, or like have one day a week off? Like those types of little things definitely gonna add up and change
You said something to me that was really interesting. You said it's really hard to allow yourself to enjoy time that is spent not being like productive or doing things that make an impact somewhere. Do you experience the same thing, Colby?
We've talked about this so many times, but I think we're just wired differently. I am the type of person where I can veg out and watch YouTube for hours a day and never feel like bored or whatever, and can like honestly be like, I deserve this. Like we work so hard that like I can do this. But I feel like we're just different people where like Sam has to be doing something constantly, I feel like.
I think I was probably a major component of us not feeling like we could have a free life this whole time we've been in a career, because I am just wired that way.
It sounds like me and Jack, where I'm the one. If Jack's not constantly doing something, I'm like, what are you doing
That's
all day?
exactly
Like, Jack,
our
there's an
relationship.
email that came in an hour ago. You've not responded to it. What are you doing?
Yeah.
You
And
need to get this back to this person. Why are you not getting back to them?
that was me too. Even if it was like 9 p.m. at night, I was like, oh, what could I be doing for like work for this
Yeah,
entire time?
I think the
or
same
even
thing.
like out on like, if we were even partying or something like that, like what pictures could I be taking that I could post tomorrow? Or like it got toxic to a point where I was obsessed with work, obsessed with productivity, and it just wasn't really healthy. And I kind of had a crazy mental breakdown about a year and a half ago. And we talked about that a lot over this whole last year. It was just like, I need to stop.
There was
doing this.
a part from 2020 through most of 2021, some of 22, where I'd break down how much I would make per hour. And if someone said, hey, let's go grab lunch or a coffee or let's go and do this, I would calculate in my mind how many hours that would be, my driving time there, and what that would be worth in
Opportunity
terms of my
cost.
time. And I'm
It's
like,
like,
doing this one thing would be $1,000. Would I pay $1,000 for that? No, I need to work. But that kept me from like adding up the opportunity cost of everything in my life.
But then what is the value of just genuine free time? You know, it's like,
Well, at the time, I thought it was a worthy sacrifice where I'm like, I know this is not going to be forever. So right now I need to put my head down and just keep working because I know it's not going to be a forever thing. So let me just, the going's
how I thought
good.
too.
Yeah.
it's like double down. Oh, things are going better. Triple down. Oh,
Yeah,
things are
exactly.
going better. Quadruple down. That's
yeah.
always
it,
how I
it was
thought.
weird because I've always told Jack, like, hey, when views are down, you double down. But when views are really good, you also double down because you want to continue that momentum.
And
So it's
so
always double
when do you
down.
Never
slow
ends.
down.
Never ends.
I like to make the conscious decision.
The go-
And that
the
was,
go-to is double down.
With the health issue, with everything that's happened like this last like year, it was a major slap to the face of being like, your time here is not forever. So if you don't actually use it and you don't enjoy it, then what the fuck did you like gain from working so hard?
Yeah, like, we're so lucky to be like well off and being able to have like as much free time as we want because we make our own schedules at 27 years old. So it would be stupid not to, live lavishly and like experience that
I've always
freedom.
felt 35 is the age you take the foot off the gas.
Yeah,
You know,
but
if
that's
you're
like when
working from
you-
20 to 35, like head down, no fun.
I don't know
think
if you want like kids or
15
anything,
years.
but like that's
Yeah.
around like when you have kids though. And I feel like once you have a kid, your life becomes your kid.
Yeah.
18 years.
And so then you're locked
Yeah, but
down.
I feel
don't
like
know,
35 is a good age
Oh, yeah,
to
for
like
sure, for
really
sure,
like
for
settle
sure.
down.
The way I see it
For
is
sure.
like
Yeah.
I want to be able to, at any point in my life, enjoy or just sit and just like enjoy my own happiness and freedom and enjoy.
See, Jack
But
and I
at
are
any
different.
point in my
us
life,
Yeah.
I don't
only get happiness from working.
That's true. Too.
only get happiness.
For a long, long ass time, I would be super unhappy if I was just like,
Oh, I
if,
get
like-
depressed. If I don't
like,
work, I'm just like,
depressed.
yeah, I get
There
sad.
were like sometimes we're like, oh, we're done with work at 5, and I would fucking panic.
It's like, now what
I would be like,
do you do?
what
No,
do
let's
I do?
do more.
What do I do? Like, I'm sad.
Well, now we could do this thing, and oh, we could brainstorm ideas. So what's
Exactly.
next?
That's
love
really
doing that.
interesting.
Insane.
I'm the opposite.
And how happy were you when you were working? Extremely happy.
Yeah, because I felt that purpose. But as soon as I didn't have that, I
it's
just felt
being
no
productive.
purpose.
That's what Grant Cardone says, is that being productive is the leading
You will be
indicator of
happy
happiness.
to the degree that you are productive.
Yes.
is what he says.
Yeah, and so when his daughter said, or when we asked his daughter,
I asked Grant, I was like, "Do you want your daughter to be happy?" And he says, "No,
I want her to be-
want her to be productive."
Whoa.
Yeah,
And
with
he
his
said-
daughter in the
Yeah.
room, and she's like 14.
Dad.
she's 14 years old, but he says if she's productive, she will be happy. So
I
productivity
do believe
first.
that.
Yeah.
But I think you can find being productive in other ways. Like now, like when I look at it, because I've had a switch in my mindset, when I do go out with friends, I find that productive for my social life and my well-being and my happiness for the job. Because if I don't have that, then I'm gonna get burnt out. And so like I have been
But
able
it still
to
ties into the job.
exactly, but it's my way of letting myself have freedom. For
Or
now.
working out. What about
Working
that?
out, like yeah,
That's being
like, I'll go
productive.
on a run, although that's not making me money. It's productive in my health or something like that.
Or
Yeah.
even like as crazy as it sounds, like starting a hobby is productive because you are like feeding a different part of your soul that can allow you to do more work because you're entertaining it. You know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
But it's just interesting. I'm curious if you guys have the same mindset. But like when I was like growing up, like all the way up until high school, my goal was just like, okay, I think like the best thing possible is to like make as much money as possible, and then I'm gonna retire at 30, and I'm gonna live like doing nothing for the rest of my life. That's gonna be great. And now being like 27 and older, in retrospect, I'm just like, that's like the most boring life.
I think that's the single most like depressing life I could ever imagine is not having a purpose.
Retiring at 30 sounds like a dream for everybody, but like then what?
Then what? What are you doing with 30 years of your life when you don't have to worry about anything? You're
Part
just
of me
gonna
would love to try that though for a month. Of really like having nothing to do.
Which would be
Like,
fun for a
every
month.
single
It'll be a
day.
great
It's like, what do
experience.
you want to do that day and go and do it?
and then you'll realize, oh, there's not that many things to do. I had this like really interesting conversation with my dad the other day at Christmas, and he was like, I think he retired at like 47, and he was like, I retired at 47 because I thought I was gonna do that, like I have so many other things to do. And then he sat me down. He's like, but I realized there wasn't just that many things to do. So like, if I had to take it all back, or if I had to suggest to you, I would say never retire. Because like, yeah, you can go golfing, or you can take a vacation, or you can get into all these other little hobbies you would, but there's actually not that many things that you're not doing currently that you'd be interested in.
It might change if you have a family with like young kids.
For sure.
Maybe
True.
that might skew
I agree,
things
I
a
agree.
lot.
But then they
But
grow
then
up
those are
and
things
then-
to do, But then you're also occupied with that.
And I do think that's why a
Yeah.
lot of people have kids. It's just something to do, something to focus on. It's purpose.
Yeah.
And 1,000%. No, I think your life at some point becomes your kid's life, and then like when they go to their baseball games, basketball, whatever games, like that's what you do. Like that. Your life is their life.
That's your purpose.
Yeah.
Do you want to have kids around the same time? I feel like maybe
Dude,
you
the kids
coordinate
become
that.
best friends.
besties.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point you would coordinate that, like make sure you both have girlfriends, eventually wives that are like friends with each other.
Oh, we'll force them.
Coordinate, yeah.
That's funny. I've planned out that exact same thing with my best buddy. The
Yeah.
exact
Really?
same thing. Oh yeah, 100%. We're gonna have friends. Our kids are going to be best friends, and our wives are gonna have to be.
Dude, I had never thought about that ever.
I've
in my
never
life.
really thought about
But
that.
thought
imagine
about that
if
so
our
much.
kids
That was
go
my
up
first
together
thought,
and start
yeah.
a YouTube channel together.
YouTube channel. God.
Yo, I've never thought about this before. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
We're terrified of kids,
No,
Just in general.
just in general.
Period.
Kids are scary.
They'd be freaky.
I never know how to talk to kids because there's like a switch when they're like older where you can have more of a conversation, but as like a
Talking to
child.
him like a little baby.
But like I talk to him like I do a dog. I'm just like, good, that's great, yeah. But I don't know how to talk.
I think
to
you
kids.
can like at least for somebody like 5 and under, you can be like, yeah, talk to him like that. I'm honestly
I don't
not sure
know.
either.
I feel like you'll learn a lot when you have a kid.
What do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's different if it's your own. But if I'm like talking to another kid, I never know what to say.
Yeah, it is scary. Do you want kids?
One day.
One day.
I've always
when
wanted.
Is one day though.
I would be happy like 5 years from now.
Okay.
How old are you
So
right now?
33. So
Okay,
like
that's
38.
good.
My parents were 38. My mom was 38. I think my dad was like 36 or 37 when they had me. So I
Okay.
felt like in my mind that's a good age because
Okay.
I always want to do everything I want to do before having kids.
Yes.
And that includes like traveling. Like going to Japan is like a big goal of mine. So to be able to travel, get that out of the way, and feel like I've accomplished everything I need to, so that I could focus on another chapter.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I feel like having a child now, that would take a priority over other things. Where right now I want to focus on other things.
Yeah, that's good.
I have a question. What do you think about the age of 27? Like
Having a
kids?
kid at 27.
Or no.
Oh.
Just like in general, like do you
You
think
being
27?
past 27.
Yeah, you being past 27. Do you see 27 being like, oh, I was still like super young then, or like?
Did you have your life kind of figured out? Or where
I
were you?
felt like I did. I felt like I haven't changed much, honestly.
Really?
If the only difference, I had more energy. I feel like at 27, like stay out later and like wake up early and not feel like completely wrecked, and then also be able to have a few drinks and be totally fine the next day.
Oh yeah, I still never get hangovers.
Okay.
That's insane.
To me, that's really
insane.
the
I
only
don't get
difference.
hangovers. Either.
What?
Yeah.
I wake up the next day like,
Oh, the other difference is that it's easier to get in good shape.
Oh.
So like if you
it
go to the
takes
gym,
longer.
yeah. So like back then I could go to the gym and see way more progress Like I would probably have to work 50% harder to get the same results as I would at 27.
Oh, that makes sense.
Dang, that's so.
But we got to get to the gym.
Got to get to the gym.
So I would say take advantage of it now. If there's anything, it's just like the energy you have. You could focus a little bit better. You could sleep a little less. You could
Is there
work out a
anything
bit
that you
harder.
wish you could have done that you probably are not going to do because you kind of passed that age?
I feel like I did everything. Like the only thing you could go back and say is, "Oh, I wish I partied more," and like,
Yeah.
But I was never into that. Like I would rather have worked. So now it's like, yeah, it'll be a little awkward if I go into these places. Even now, like I went to the bungalow in Santa Monica. If you've been there, I'm the old one there, and I remember like going in there and seeing everyone is like 21 to 25, and I felt out of place.
Wow.
And you'd hear these conversations like, "Oh yeah, I just got this internship. This and that." I'm so out of it. It's like
An internship, dude.
fucking internships, man. Get away. No, I felt out of place. I now feel awkward going in and being old in places where like I thought I would fit in and I don't. Same with a lot of like the YouTube events. I'm old, and it's like all these young like 18 to 25-year-old like TikTokers and like shorts people and vloggers and just all these vloggers, these prank channels. I know I feel out of place.
Are you scared of being older?
No, I look forward to it. Like I like the idea of being a grandpa. I don't know why. It's just like
Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I've always
incredible grandpa.
Yeah,
You'd be the crankiest.
Dude.
Like you walk
I wanna
out with
be
your
that
little
one.
thing, like the guy from
I want to be
Up.
so big.
That's
I
you.
want to embarrass people at Thanksgiving dinner, say the most outlandish stuff. And people are like, "Oh, that's his grandpa."
Yeah,
I'm like, "Oh, this Starbucks coffees. That's why you're broke." You know, I want to be like that. I've always gravitated towards older people for whatever reason. Like I relate better to them. I see like wisdom in what they have to say. They have experience. I think you learn a lot from old people. So I've always just like, ever since I was a kid, I'd hang out with like the adults.
Wow. How about
So-
you, Jack? You feel the same?
Like looking forward to old age.
Yeah. Or,
I've always loved the age that I've been at.
wow.
To be honest,
And
So
you're
I'm
25?
I'm 25.
25. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm thrilled to be 25, and I'm sure as I grow older, like I'm just gonna enjoy different things. And here's the thing that I found really interesting: when I was like 16, I had this crisis because I've always been pretty juvenile, like liked childish things and stuff like that. And
You
when
still
I was,
do, Jack.
Well, yeah, I still do in some capacity, sure. But like when I was 16, like pulling pranks on my friends and being kind of an idiot, you know, like that was my favorite thing. It would bring me so much happiness, and I was so scared that as I got older, like it would be weird. You know,
Yeah.
like I'm like 25 and I'm still pulling like childish pranks and stuff like that, and everyone's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, get a job.
gets better
But
with age.
as I got older, I noticed I would have the same happiness and joy, but just from other things. And I think that's just a part of maturing, is that as you grow older, you can still get that same happiness that you had when you were a kid, but just from different things.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm expecting the rest of my life to be like that. You know, once I'm 40, maybe just hanging out with my kids is like the most thrilling thing in the entire world. Maybe it's
Yeah.
better than everything I've experienced before.
Yeah, your priorities are different. It was
Exactly.
really, I had a horrible crisis of getting older for such a long time. We still kind of do. And I was like asking my dad about that. I was like, "Do you feel like sad that you're 60?" like,
Does it just
That's
suck?
my
Like,
best conversation.
So
I've ever had.
wild, the
I'm so
6-year-olds.
happy.
like suck for you? And he goes, "You know, you guys always say that like your 20s are going to be your best years of your life." And I would say my 20s were the best years of my life. And then I turned 30. And then my 30s were the best years of my life for different reasons. And then I turned 40, and they were the best years of my life for different reasons. And I never thought about it like that. I was always like, oh, my party phase, my travel phase, my dating around phase is going to be the best years of my life. And they probably will be for those reasons. But the reasons will always change and will grow so much as people. So I thought that was really cool. And that alleviated so much anxiety about me getting older.
yeah.
Damn, dropping wisdom on
All
us.
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone follow Dumb and Wise.
Hey!
Check it out.
It's another dad quote. His dad is a genius.
That's a genius.
It's somewhat off topic. How do you do your hair?
It's very off
Thank
topic.
you, dude. Trying my best out there. Shout out.
Do you use a blow dryer?
I do.
Do you use a blow dryer?
Hell yeah.
What?
Dyson blow dryer.
You guys gotta teach
super
me that.
Bougie, bro.
What's the strategy? How do you
Dude.
do this?
I've had the same haircut since I was like 10. It's pretty
Okay.
bad. So
Shout out Anuko hairstylist, our buddy that owns a barber shop. I've been going to him. He's been giving me advice, and I just recently, like a year ago, started using this paste. So, dude, go for it, man.
Okay.
Just like different, just try a bunch of different things. But I would say volume is the best thing that's ever happened to my hair.
Okay.
Interesting. So I was talking to Brett and Joseph, those, Brett Maverick and Blue Man. And they said you need to use a blow dryer. It's like the most important thing if you want to have good and consistent hair as a guy. So Brett gave me a blow dryer and I was using it and it makes my hair look
It's so bad.
Oh no.
It was so bad.
Horrible.
I'll show you guys. I'll show photos up on the camera now.
It's like really bad to the point where I'm like, Jack, you cannot.
Yeah.
Are you
do
just
the
doing it
podcast.
wrong, or is it
I
just the blow
must be.
dryer?
I must be doing it wrong. I hope that's the case.
As soon as I saw it, I started laughing.
Do you put product in after blow dry?
kind of, I put a little bit of product in.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just a skill.
Do you not like your hair right now? Is that why you're wearing a hat?
I mean,
That's hot.
That's hot.
change the camera.
That's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
I mean that's hat head, obviously. So
Sure.
Yeah.
doesn't usually look like that, guys. But yeah,
Do you want to focus on your hair?
I think it
or
would be
no?
a level up. Yeah, because I think hat head Jack is just
Do you like beard jack?
this is lazy Jack is beard. I think it looks a little bit good with some 5 o'clock shadow, to be honest.
I agree. Yeah. And Jack, you're gonna check your text message. Did she respond to you?
Oh.
Coming back. We promised our
let's see
viewers at the
here.
very end.
That is funny.
Oh, she responded.
Yes! Let's go.
She's like, fuck
What'd
those
you
guys.
I want to see those. You read it out loud.
Oh my god! Okay,
What-
so
what did
she
she say?
says, she responds, "Fuck off! I'm screaming all in caps. I will be the first listener. I'm gonna pretend that picture was solely for me. It was. Thank you for the immense joy I'm experiencing. Wow.
Jack, you gotta set her up.
Yo,
Can you do
huge
that?
shout out to you.
What's her name?
Tori.
Let's go,
Tori.
Tori.
Shout out Tori.
Go on a fantastic date with Jack.
Okay.
Jake.
All right, Tori.
Are we on this
Tori,
podcast
give
now?
Jake a chance over here,
Jake.
please.
Yeah, get his name
Come on for
right, so
Jake.
that'll be better.
All right. Well, that was holy mackerel.
3 hours, 10 minutes.
Let's go!
That's our longest podcast
This is our,
ever.
That might
this
beat
is-
Joe
this is our
Rogan.
second longest ever.
Wow.
Healthy Gamer was the longest
That-
at 3 hours, 30 minutes.
See, this was
Wow.
crazy because like we're friends, so it's kind of just chit chatting.
I was gonna say,
Friends.
we
It
probably
made
would
it
have had the
very
same
easy.
conversation elsewhere.
Yeah, made it very easy.
Is there anything else that you want to mention while we're on the roll?
Dude.
Anything else?
2024 is about to get crazier. I know we say that
Yeah.
every single year, so our fans are like,
2023.
"Shut up!" But like we have a lot of plans. We're gonna be traveling the world for our haunted stuff, and have a lot of side businesses that are gonna be launching. So just get ready for 2024. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. And go check us out in Zumiez. We're in
Oh,
Zumiez
yeah.
Oh my
across the
god!
United
How did we
States.
not
Every
even bring
Zumiez.
that up? You guys were their number one most sold collection.
Most
Yeah.
sold brand of Black Friday, which is crazy.
So
They
you
got in
beat-
every
you beat
Zoomies.
Danny Duncan, right?
During
He's
that
Just
week,
for that
sure.
week.
Okay.
Just for that
I don't know
week.
what the stats are now, but
Yeah.
now because of that, we're in every store in the United States and in Canada.
It's
and now
good looking merch.
Thank
you
you.
know?
Thank you.
I really
Thank
think it's
you.
something that you could see people wear even if they don't know what it is.
Tell that story. That was crazy.
Yeah, this is really, really cool. So the other day we went to go to a Zumiez to get photo shoot pictures and to do some promo.
Yesterday?
No. A couple weeks ago, Zach. And while we were walking in to do the photo shoot, we saw this guy, and he walked up to the employee and goes, "Hey, what's that one?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, these are new in store." And he's like, "These are sick." And he takes it down, does the whole explore thing, and we walk up to him and we look just to see if he recognize us. He had no idea who we are. He was just
Wow.
in front of our eyes, being like, "This is really cool merch."
He's
And
an
he
older dude.
had no
in his
idea who we
40s.
are.
Yeah.
And that just validated that people outside of our, YouTube audience will enjoy the merch. which
Yeah,
is
I think it's a good design. I like the style of it. I think
It's
the baggy is
comfortable.
kind of like
Whoever's
Thank
making
you.
Yeah.
manufacturing them, it's very comfortable.
Oh yeah, thank you.
Shout
Yeah.
out the team.
Shout out team.
Yeah.
Can I ask how much do you make on a sweater? If Zumi sells a sweater, it's
margins.
$1 that you guys get net.
Yeah, it's
Not
different for
margins, yeah.
obviously our merch versus Zumiez.
Yeah.
Because we just have a different deal,
And different blanks and stuff.
different blanks. But it's I don't know.
I don't even know. I don't want to say a wrong number.
Yeah, it's a pretty good margin. It's
Yeah.
very comparable to what we make on our own side.
Cool.
So let's say we'll sell ours, make X percentage. we get like maybe 10% less from a Zumiez purchase. So it's actually
sure.
really,
That's-
really good.
yeah.
To be in
It's
But
not
what's
bad at
cool
all.
about the Zumiez deal is like they buy in bulk.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So it's really like
Oh,
obviously
they buy it from you.
yeah.
So we get money up front.
Basically
And then
meaning
they
like
sell
if
it,
we
yeah.
like obviously we'll never do this Zumiez, we promise.
love
But
you.
like we love you. But like if we technically could just be like, all right, thank you, and just not post anything about it.
And not have it sell
Or
out
like
anything.
promo it.
Yeah.
Buy it.
We'll never do that though.
Yeah.
And do you give Zumiez like a special design so that like only they sell those
Yes.
designs? Got
Yes.
it.
Or
Okay.
specific colorways.
Got
of the
Colorways,
design.
unique designs, or they'll get designs first, or anything like that. And also, Zumiez is now the only place that you can get our merch with like when we're not dropping, because we usually like drop our merch online for like 2 days at a time,
Every other month.
every other month. So the rest of the 7 weeks that we're not dropping, that's the only spot you can get Explore merch. So that's what's really cool. But
And it's cool just to say that we are in like I think it's, correct me if I'm wrong, 650 stores
That's
in
pretty
the world.
big, yeah.
And we're storefront in at least like 50% of them right now.
yeah, like our faces are plastered on
Really?
the front of the store.
That's got to be
Oh my
so
gosh.
real.
Which is
Walk,
super
you guys
real.
just did that, right? Like a couple
Last
days ago,
night,
you were
last night.
yeah, that was last night. You were walking through trying to find Zumiez that just like showed
Was
your
that in the
face everywhere.
Vegas Fashion Mall?
Yeah,
Yes.
Vegas
Was it
Fashion
Actually,
Mall.
really.
So if you
That's
go
so
to that
cool.
Zumiez, you'll see just like Sam and I's giant faces. Like
It's-
You should go there and
full
like
store.
sign the bottom of it
Right.
and just have people go and they could
that
like
would
see
be
it,
cool.
you know?
It's a full circle moment.
Someone will steal that
especially-
though.
Oh,
if you
yeah.
sign it, someone will just take it.
For
the
sure.
You know?
thing. It's kind of a full circle moment, like especially with the Oak Park Mall, like where we first started in
Yeah.
line. Now our faces are plastered on there, so
Yeah.
even though we can't legally go in there,
That's
we're still in there.
faces
That's
right
so
there.
cool.
Yeah.
It's a very gratifying feeling, and
It's cool.
merch is definitely, it was always part of our business, but within the last like year since we did it all ourselves and we like really tried to push the quality of it, has now become like our biggest piece of business.
Yeah.
That's your. If you were to draw a pie with percentages, no numbers, but just percentages, can you say like what these percentages look like from different areas?
AdSense and merch are close, but
They're
merch is still a
very-
bigger piece of the pie.
Yeah, but between AdSense and merch, I would say both of those are probably 70%.
I feel like you need a Ouija board that you guys sell.
We tried to
Or
sell
like-
that a long time ago.
We did like
it
in
not go well?
2019. We did like just a custom amount, right? It was
a
like
one-off
100 or
thing.
something. Yeah, it's like a one-off.
It might be making a comeback. We don't know.
Yeah. we're-
So that's a collector's item. So for like real fans, if they have one of 100 of the Ouija board, that's got to be
It's-
worth some money, right?
Probably.
Right. Yeah. It kind of depends on if people even want it or not too, because we didn't know how big the market was for.
Yeah.
And selling like a Ouija board to like a young audience too is kind of like.
You're
Is there
opening a
moral-
portal. Yeah, you're right.
Is there a moral wrong
Yeah.
thing with that?
Include a warning in there.
All of a sudden,
Yeah.
accidents start happening out of nowhere.
Yeah,
It's like, hey,
or
maybe
like-
it's cursed.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there's a lot of like those little logistic things where like we haven't pulled the trigger on that yet, but we've thought about it for sure.
Yeah.
we've thought about it.
We didn't even bring up the Cinemark thing, but just congratulations on that as well. That was 168
Yeah, you got it.
theaters you guys sold out
Yeah.
or something, right?
Yeah,
Is
so we
for the-
didn't sell out the entire theaters, but in each theater we would have screenings that were completely sold out, and then they would just add another screening.
Oh, got it. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. And you were the first
Insane.
YouTubers to ever do something like that, right?
There was some people that like tested it, but I think
Yeah.
that was the most successful one that Cinemark did.
Yeah, I don't want to name drop here if I'm wrong, but Jacksepticeye.
Jacksepticeye
Do
did
it anyways.
one like a month before we did. There was like Yes Theory did a very
Oh,
small
that's right,
version of a
yeah.
tour of it.
Yeah.
But I think we were the first people to like do it all nationwide.
Have they hit you guys up and they're like, "Hey, we want to like keep doing these"?
Yeah.
Cinemark
Might
is
be
hitting you
coming
guys.
again.
Wow.
Has anyone ever approached you for a movie and just said, "Hey, we want to buy the rights to have you guys act in, we want to do this
We have
haunted
had
horror special"?
offers before, but we've always turned down acting positions, especially in movies, and especially if it was in Haunted, just because like if we act in Haunted,
Yeah.
how can
Well, I
we
meant
like
like a docu series, or it's like them following you guys around.
cool.
It's
That
like,
could be different.
The
Yeah.
reason why
Sony
some-
Studios wants something. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why like our videos are so authentic is because we are the only people that go in. Like it's just me, Colby, a camera, and then whoever our guests are. The first time we ever had any like team member on was this Conjuring series because we needed someone to go get food and like go get the guests.
We were there for a week.
We were there for a week, but other than that, it's always just me, Colby, a camera, and then whoever is our guest. Because we don't want the producers, other people, cameramen, all in there because that just ruins the experience, or that makes people think, oh, maybe someone's pulling a string or something. But like the super just run and gun, like low budget stuff is the whole backbone of our channel.
And
I
the
think
whole
if
point of YouTube.
if a Netflix were to come to you, they'd have a crew of like 30 people.
Yeah, and it would
Exactly.
be
You know,
cool,
and like a
but it
food
would be
truck
different
outside, and like
experience.
catering stations. Yeah.
Well, that's what I don't understand is like people in our comments are just like, oh my god, these guys should like be on Netflix. These
Yeah.
should be in like movies or whatever. And we're like, we want to be like right here.
Yeah, this
I
is
feel
the
like it's
best
never been a
part for us.
success when people try to go into more mainstream
Yeah.
from YouTube.
Plus, like, what's the benefit of like
There's no benefit.
exposure
Yeah,
or
there's no
money? It's like
benefit.
everything that
You're just
we
forgoing control.
wanted is in this YouTube thing, and we have full control over it. So like, we're in the best position possible. So like, why move?
Yeah.
It's a happy.
It's
life.
just the name. Like people think like, oh, they're on Netflix. Like you made it, or whatever. So for
That
some
name
reason,
is still there though.
it is.
You know, there's
but
that is
like,
a thing.
why not just throw Sam Colby and Cinemark instead of
Yeah.
going on Netflix? You know, we can just do the same things.
I also think YouTube, like prediction, and it's already happening, but like over the next 5-10 years, the YouTubers are gonna get like massive respect because it's turning into like a TV show. I feel like everybody has their own show now,
Yeah.
where you have to have some sort of production to like really get like a lot of views and stuff. So like I think slowly like older heads, like older people are like realizing like, oh wait, YouTube is the future. Like we
Yeah.
should take this
There
seriously.
was zero respect 10 years ago for a
Yeah.
YouTuber.
But Mr. Beast
nowadays-
changed
Oh,
that game
totally.
completely. Like after Mr. Beast, and especially the launch of like I know Mr. Beast Burger didn't do too well like now or whatever, but like when he first like launched that
Yeah.
Feastables, like that was huge for big corporations being
Yeah.
like, wait, he's selling like that much,
Yeah,
and he's a
that,
YouTuber.
Prime, Happy Dad, all like the big corporations. People are taking YouTubers seriously, especially just the
Finally.
power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Is there anything else you guys want to say? Or is...
Thanks for having us on, guys.
Yeah.
This
Thanks
has
for
been
coming on. This has been
incredibly
great.
fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I'm taking a look at the Healthy Gamer, how long that one was. I just want to see.
See if
Do
we're
we
setting
beat it?
records here.
Oh yeah,
We
are
do trim, so we do cut out some
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Oh,
probably-
his was 246.
Oh wait. So are
Who did we
we?
film for
Damn.
longer?
Are we setting a record right now?
Cooper's long.
Brett Cooper?
Dang.
Regardless, Grant, we
Yeah, I just want to see, just really quickly. I know we cut out some.
After you cut out the boring parts, it'll probably be like an hour.
that was 3 hours and 8 minutes.
So it depends how much we cut of this.
Why? What are we at right
Brett
now?
Cooper's was 3 hours,
3 hours,
and
8 minutes.
8 minutes.
That's the longest episode we've ever done.
Oh,
And
wow.
we probably filmed with her 3.5 and then cut out, some stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll see. This might be our longest episode.
Well, even if not, thanks for having us on. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Thank you so much for coming on, boys.
Yeah.
Oh,
Thanks for
tell
having us.
everyone to subscribe so we beat Caleb Hammer.
Oh yeah.
Subscribe.
Whoever that Caleb guy is, ignore him. Subscribe right now. We're gonna beat him to 1 million.
Subscribe for Jake.
Subscribe for
guys.
Jake.
Thank you guys, and until next time.
Next time.